Oh, I forgot my water downstairs.
I think it's a tragic milestone, and it means that in less than a month, or in just about a month, 4 million people have been uprooted from their homes, from their families, their communities.
New arrests in Israel. Police say they've taken 5 Palestinians into custody a day after a gunman on a motorcycle used an assault rifle to kill 5 people near Tel Aviv. They say they shot and killed the suspect who lived in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. The attack is the third in Israel, ahead of the Muslim holiday month of Ramadan. In the southern U.S., they can't catch a break from severe weather. CBS meteorologist David Parkinson says there's another powerful system in the forecast for today.
It's actually going to really cause problems as we go into your afternoon and evening hours. Very serious severe weather threat, lots of damaging wind, a straight line of wind for hundreds of miles as it moves from west to east, and then the potential for destructive tornadoes.
More U.S. workers are getting high and heading to the office.
One of the country's biggest drug testing labs, Quest Diagnostics, says of the more than 6 million general workforce urine tests it conducted last year, 3.9% came back positive for marijuana. That's an increase of more than 8% from 2020 and 50% from 2017. The Wall Street Journal notes that since that time, there's been a good jump in the number of states that have legalized the recreational use of marijuana, from 8 to 18, plus Washington, D.C. Christopher Cruz, CBS News.
Coffee might be just the thing for people who have trouble controlling their impulses. Here's CBS's Michael George.
A Spanish study finds prescribed caffeine consumption can increase attention and memory retention capacity. People with attention
8:50.
deficit
I want to
hyperactivity.
skip your money now and just play our local break
Caffeine
so that we can come back at about 8:53.
This is CBS.
Gotta give him some room to run.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
My first question for Josh. Is this just the way it is now? Like every week you're gonna do this?
cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important to your business, Zoom Phone was built with reliability in mind, using geographic redundancy to keep your communications online. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Visit zoom.com/phone system. Zoom, how the world connects.
There's something for everyone on Discovery Plus, the streaming home of ghostly freakouts, muscle car spinouts, and 90-day makeouts.
I'm really in love with her.
Start your free trial today for exclusive originals and a huge collection of favorites. Then dive into Nature Docs, geek out with a family, and get your grub on. I could eat this every day. The streaming home of true crime, paranormal, food, home, nature, romance, plus so much more. Discovery Plus. Start your free trial. Terms apply.
I can't see.
This is
Does
Tony
this
Starr
to
from the
me.
latest from the Guarantee Media Traffic Center. Brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbills. If you're heading into the downtown area from Port Allen, you might experience some slowdowns. There's an accident that has the left shoulder blocked on I-10
There we
eastbound at LA1. Stop and go traffic is back to about LA 415 and Lafayette. Also, be advised, drivers, there is reports of a crash on Cooper Road at Door Road and Shoe Creek Drive. So be prepared for some possible delays if you're in that area. And there's a tractor trailer in the median backing up traffic on eastbound I-10 approaching the Mississippi River
As
Bridge.
soon as you get me started, can you go
Can't expect
downstairs
delays if you're making your way into Baton Rouge.
to
Right
let
now, you're looking at
Richard
a current
in?
drive time of about 16 minutes from Cuban Road to the 1012 split, and 15 minutes from Highland Road to the bridge. That's the latest from the Guarantee Media Traffic Center, where reports are always brought to you by Shawbills. I'm Taylor Swift reporting.
606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. We are off and running on this Wednesday morning, what is promising to be a severe weather Wednesday. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll give you the rundown. Attorney Franz Borghardt is out of town, in fact, out of the state right now. His co-host on the podcast Legally Unfiltered is going to join me in his stead for Legally Served. Richard Sprinkle, going to be by in about 20 minutes from right now. In fact, I just got a text that he is in the parking lot. So, Richard Sprinkle, 6:25 all the way up till 7 a.m. In the 7 o'clock hour this morning, we are going to talk with Cree Matlock from the YMCA and Bret Pinson from Rebuilding Together. Some cool stuff going on in North Baton Rouge, and a lot of it is through partnerships with ExxonMobil. Today, the YMCA ExxonMobil branch has got Wellness Wednesday going on, and we're going to dive into that among a few other things that they are doing in North Baton Rouge to help not establish, but completely reaffirm a foothold of being a neighborhood partner. That's at 7:15, 7:35. Congressman Garret Graves is going to be on board for D.C. Current. No shortage of topics to talk about with the congressman. In the 8 o'clock hour, we've got three guests lined up for you this morning. State Senator Rick Ward at 8:15. Time to recalibrate the bridge topic. It has been all over the place, up to and including, you heard Clay Schexnayder day before yesterday, just sobering, the only way I can really describe what Clay had to say about the bridge and laying out some very specific parameters. There's been a lot of hesitation when it comes to putting $500 million aside to build a new Mississippi River Bridge. A new Mississippi River Bridge is going to cost a lot more than $500 million. We've got $500 million right now. Other state legislators are saying, give me some, give me some. Other state legislators are just going to find reasons, find excuses not to sign off on it. We're going to talk with Rick Ward about what actually has to get done, how much of all of this is a legitimate ask, a legitimate stipulation, a legitimate demand, or just a reason to say no. And that is a legitimate question. Rick Ward, 8:15. LSU softball coach Beth Torina going to join me at 8:40 this morning. The Goats Heel Walk is coming up this weekend. Cannot wait to talk about this. This is an annual event they do out with LSU softball, and honestly, I want to talk with the coach about a lot more than just that. We're going to talk about this particular softball team. Probably going to ask her if she's going to play tonight, but let's talk about women's sports in general as well with Beth Torina at 8:40, and then we're going to round things out with Dr. Josh Eachus. WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, is going to join us to close out the show this morning. When putting together the rundown, I was trying to figure out where to place Josh, and honestly, no news with our weather is going to change from 7:30 to 8:50, because what we're looking at today, and that's where we're leading off today, oh, by the way, it's such a weird spot. There's going to be a veto override session in the middle of a regular session. It's going to happen today and tomorrow. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think that's ever happened before. They're going ahead with all the business of the state, just saying, whoa, time out. Let's all stop playing this game and go play this one, and then we'll come pick this game back up later. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think Louisiana's ever done that before. That is, by definition, historic. And it's not what we're leading off with today. EBR schools are going virtual. City parish businesses shutting down about noon. Let's see, early closure for city parish offices due to anticipated inclement weather. City parish offices will close to the public early at 11 a.m. Wednesday, March 30th. Residents should monitor local weather reports and seek shelter during severe weather. Register for Red Stick Ready text alerts by texting Red Stick Ready to 243-9991. LSU shutting down at 12:30 today. State offices are closed throughout a number of parishes and closing at noon throughout a number of other parishes. Because, well, here's the breakdown. It's looking like from about 9 a.m. to noon, it's going to be super windy in town. Sustained winds in the mid-20s. By about 1 p.m., look for the beginning of the rain. 50-50 shot at rain starting at noon today. I'm sorry, at 1 today. The winds up to about 29 miles per hour. Bump it ahead to 2 o'clock, you go from a 50% chance of rain to a 70% chance of rain. Carry that over to 4 p.m., where it bumps up to a 100% chance of rain. Like I said, most schools in the area, diocesan schools, getting out early. Catholic, St. Joseph's, both getting out somewhere in the 12 o'clock hour. All in an effort to get everybody home and off the roads well in advance of the storm. Now, it was a week and a day ago where this has already happened. We did this last Tuesday. And it kind of felt like busy work until it didn't. But what went through Baton Rouge was, I don't know, about 35, 40 minutes worth of really heavy rain. And then the sun came out and it was beautiful for the rest of the day. And then we find out a couple of hours later that when the storm system got all the way down to the New Orleans area, we had a deadly tornado in Araby, another tornado in Gretna, and another tornado which was listed as Slidell, but State Senator Sharon Hewitt said it was in an uninhabited area of Lacombe, which is kind of what Lacombe is. So we go through this again today. Dr. Josh Eachus is going to join us at 8:50 to talk about it and set the table. Let's set the timelines down. My weather app has got that hour-by-hour breakdown. We'll know more from Josh by the end of the show today. But when it happens in back-to-back weeks, you start asking yourself questions. When does an anomaly, when does a one-off become a trend or a pattern? Is this just the way it's going to be during the spring? Because after today, we're looking at rain again on Saturday. And then next Tuesday, another chance at rain. We're used to springtime showers, some of them being violent. Some of them being, what did Mayor Broom call it? Thunderstorms on steroids. But now we're seeing it with a pattern of, and I say pattern because it's happened twice. I know that technically that's not a pattern yet. But we're seeing it where last week and this week, shutdowns, closures, readjusting your life and your daily routine in order to accommodate the weather. Not sitting here leading off the show saying we're overreacting. That's not my take by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, last week, the way it played out in Baton Rouge, by the time the weather rolled through, everybody was pretty much home. The streets were pretty much empty. If you're going to do it, that was the right way to do it. But when it happens the second time, you do start to ask the question of, is this just what I should be used to now? Anyway, Josh Eachus will round out the show at 8:50. We got to take a break. When we come back, there are so many different sports stories to talk about. I doubt we're going to get to all of them. Before we take that break, though, I want to remind you about the folks over at Mattress. You know where to find them. Downtown on 3rd Street. Nicholson in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. I tell you about them being a tailgating headquarters all the time. In fact, you can tailgate for baseball or softball. Absolutely. But now might be the time to start thinking about tailgating at the end of April. When a certain little country singer is going to be in Tiger Stadium, you're hitting campus. Don't tell me you're not going. The whole world's going. 100,000 people fit in the stadium. I believe they're selling 500,000 tickets at this gig. You're going to want to swing by Mattress when you hit campus up. No reason to pack everything up before you leave the house. You can grab it on your way out there. They will have all kinds of cold beer, craft beer, you name it. Snacks, food, platters. They got it all. Downtown on 3rd Street, but on Nicholson in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. It's right across the street from Tiger Stadium. It's Mattress. I don't know how I'm going to get to all of these. Let's do this. Let's get rid of... Morning, Richard. Come on in, man. Yeah, no. All good. You good? Appreciate you coming in. Well, yeah, there's some right there, but have at it. We're just going to use 16. Nope. We're going to use 16 and 18, not 17. is weather patterns just stupid. And if it doesn't play out today, here's the part that bothers me. We have to get on high alert, and then a week later we get on high alert, and then 2 weeks from now we do it again, and then 2 weeks after that we do it again, and then hurricane season comes around, and everybody is weathered out. Oh, I'm not hearing that. I did it all spring long. And then, boom, a Cat 3 slams Louisiana. Mm-hmm.
Enveloped in oil smoke, so you couldn't see your hand this close to your face. We're all just basically standing still. Next thing you know, we're getting gas alerts. Put on all that crap, sit there for about 10 minutes, all clear, take it off. Gas, put it all up. This shit went on for hours. After a while, we're like, fucking gas.
I'm done, man. I don't care.
There's legitimacy to the whole argument. I don't.
Yeah, just gas me. I don't care at this point. Yeah, all this law nerd stuff, I got plenty of it for you.
Bro,
Pick what you want.
You sent me a 38-page PDF?
Yeah, well,
like,
that's the decision.
No.
That's the decision,
The
man.
attorney is the expert. I just make assy comments.
That's the decision, man.
No, I know.
No, this is actually kind of a monumental case, and I should have been paying more attention to it. It works its way up through the courts, got through the Fifth Circuit. Fifth Circuit's like, I don't know, and it winds up at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's like, no, we're not going to decide this constitutional issue about First Amendment rights and whether or not this is protected speech or whatever until we first look and see, did this guy break any Louisiana laws in the first place? So they say, kick it back to the Fifth. The Fifth certifies the questions to the Louisiana Supreme Court. That's what federal courts typically do when they have an undecided question or something's up in the air about state law. They ask that state Supreme Court to find out. Louisiana Supreme Court says, oh, by the way.
Stand by. I got to squeeze a lot into 2 minutes. .618 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Ran a little bit long in the opening segment. Let's get to as much of this as is humanly possible. Starting with the Saints. Head coach Dennis Allen spoke with the media while attending the NFL's owner meetings in Palm Beach, Florida. Allen was asked about his handling of the Jameis Winston situation. Team took a little, did a little dance with Deshaun Watson before reaching an agreement with Winston. Here is what Allen had to say about his quarterback.
Jameis was great. And Jameis understands how our business operates. He was great during the whole process. He and I had a couple of good, call it tough conversations. I thought it was a good process.
Meanwhile, the Saints have bolstered the quarterback room a little bit. Big news yesterday as they signed Andy Dalton. Veteran quarterback Andy Dalton has been added to the roster. Dalton most recently played with the Chicago Bears. Most of us know him for his time with the Cincinnati Bengals. According to reports, the deal is a 1-year, $3 million deal with incentives that could reach up to $6 million. Move from the quarterback room over to wide receiver. Dennis Allen talked about the return of Michael Thomas.
I just feel like it's important that, he is one of our better players, and I think that relationship between he and I is important, and so I felt like it was a cool deal to go out and see him in California going through the rehab process and just get some time to just visit with him just personally.
Over to baseball, LSU slammed UL Monroe last night 15-4. Braden Jobert had 2 home runs, drove in 7 on the night. Here comes the Fox Business Report. And there goes me leaving 3 stories on the table. Yeah, but about the weather. Oh, by the way, we're always on YouTube.
Huh.
So the camera with the blue wire sticking out of it is the one.
Okay.
Green light.
Important to know.
Did I see a text come across? I did! Good morning, Christy!
Wait, what?
Do what?
I should have been listening to that. Hey, there's.
What did she say?
Something about somebody insisting that some dude buy her handguns or whatever.
I like that.
I heard it. It was the CEO of Apple was filing a restraining order against this woman that followed him to his home over and over again and was pleading for sexual acts and was emailing him images of handguns that she was saying like he made her buy. But obviously. So, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I don't even know how you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's. I can't believe I'm gonna do this. Let's lead with the fluff. Will Smith.
Okay, the slap heard around the world.
Yep. Justice Thomas.
Got it.
D. Ray McKesson.
Mm.
And then this one under where you say legal news, is it like a ranking of all the top law schools?
Oh, that's a big thing. That's
that
big
Harvard's
thing.
not number one anymore.
That Harvard's not in the top 3. Okay, so there's U.S. News and World Report ranks law schools.
Yeah.
We really don't want to get into where the Louisiana schools rank. But they do this every year, and kids that are going to law school live for these rankings. I mean, live for them. And Yale, Harvard, and Stanford have shared the top 3 spots forever.
Yeah.
It's always been Yale and then Harvard, Stanford, or Harvard, Yale, Stanford, whatever. Those 3 have been there forever. Columbia has now bumped Harvard out. Harvard's tied for number 4. I'm sorry, University of Chicago bumped Harvard out, and now Harvard's tied with Columbia for number 4. And then there's this other grouping called the T14 where all the best and brightest allegedly want to go, supposedly. It's a thing. It's a real thing for kids that are going to
LSU is 105th?
LSU's 105th.
For the dollars, is that worth it?
Actually, for the dollars, LSU's one of the best values out there. And I will say this, when it comes to ranking the Louisiana schools, they always rank low, candidly, because of our civilian law heritage here. The other 59 or 49 states don't know what to do with us.
Okay.
I mean, they literally don't. I've got lawyer buddies in other states, and they're like, look, I don't even understand what you guys do down there. It's funny because what we do is not really that different from what they do. But there's this stigma like, oh, there's the law in the United States, oh, and then there's Louisiana. Leave that alone. Don't touch that. That's the dark place. We don't go there.
I understand.
So, yeah, LSU's 105.
All right, then we'll get to the rankings as well. I'm probably not going to want to get to the Don't Say Gay law because I
works for me.
As best I've read, it's been remarkably misconstrued.
Oh, it's insanely misconstrued, and it's written so vague that, candidly, a teacher can't even refer to themselves as, good morning, class, I'm Mr. Sprinkle. I mean, you just identified yourself as a gender. The way that law is written. I can't.
So there's not two genders, there's none.
I can't say George Washington was a man who was president. Nope. Can't say was a man. The way that law is written, it's so vague.
Okay.
It's so open to interpretation. It could cause a lot of trouble.
I believe it's not going to last a year. It's going to be thrown out.
God, yes.
Okay.
That's as crazy as. Have you seen the Georgia gubernatorial candidate's bus?
Say again?
Have you seen that Georgia gubernatorial candidate's bus? The sticker on the side says, Jesus guns babies. I'm your choice. I'm like, what the heck is going on with you? I wish I could remember her name.
Yes, it's time for Legally Served. No, Franz is not in. He's on like a vision quest or something. Franz is in Arizona right now, hopefully sleeping. I mean, if he's watching on YouTube, he's got issues that are deeper than we've ever known.
You know he's been posting on Facebook already.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Mostly food, which is kind of his MO. In his stead, we have attorney Richard Sprinkle, who I am very happy to have on board this morning. Richard is also an attorney and co-hosts the Legally Unfiltered podcast with Franz. Richard, welcome. Well, I would say welcome back. It's been a minute, but you filled in once before, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. I filled in for Franz once before, and I think one time Franz was taking your chair, and he had me on when you weren't here. And that was an amazing amount of trust there.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and there's some very, very important legal topics to discuss this morning. And we'll probably use a lot of the time making fun of Franz. But let's start with, while there are a number of very important legal topics to cover, there's no way I don't start with anything but Will Smith.
The slap heard round the world.
The slap heard round the world. Chris Rock has already said not pressing charges.
Right.
Not even going to file a police report.
Right.
Is that the end of it?
It doesn't have to be, and it very likely isn't the end of it, because Chris Rock isn't the only aggrieved party either. So here's the thing: there's two possible obvious consequences from Will Smith's actions. One would be the criminal act of committing a battery on someone else. The other would be the tort activity of committing a battery on somebody else. I mean, if Will Smith slaps someone, or if anybody slaps someone, the person who got injured could sue that person for money damages.
Okay.
So those two things are hanging out there. The LAPD has already said if Chris Rock decides he wants to file charges, then we'll come in and talk to him. But for right now, until he does, if you don't have a victim, you don't have a crime.
Okay. So there's no possibility that there would be another. There's no way the Academy could turn back around and say Will Smith ruined them.
No. Now we go back to the civil side of things,
right?
Where we can say Will Smith did things that harmed the Academy, possibly. Right. The Academy's already opened an investigation into what happened, which I find is odd. I think we all know what happened. It was broadcast live on TV.
We think we know what happened. We watch TV all
like
the
one
time.
Of those government studies.
But it's like, so there's still a lot of people saying it was fake.
Oh, a lot of people are saying it.
And from that perspective, I've seen fights on TV. I've watched all the Rockies. Like, I've seen fights. They sometimes look real.
Sure.
This looked real.
Well, whether it was fake or not, whether it was staged by Smith and Rock or not, if it hurt the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in any kind of way from a pecuniary standpoint, a money standpoint, any way that they can prove damages, sure, they could bring an action against him.
Now, that being said, highly unlikely, correct?
Highly unlikely. What is possible is the Academy may kick Will Smith out. He wouldn't be the first person who's been kicked out. Harvey Weinstein was kicked out. Bill Cosby was kicked out. And Roman Polanski was kicked out.
Okay. Very, very different category here.
Very, very different.
There's a huge difference between one man slapping another man and what those other three did.
A huge difference. But the premise behind it was what those other three did brought bad reputation and shame on the Academy. So that's why they're out. And I'm just saying the possibility is out there.
How long does Chris Rock have to make up his mind?
Typically in tort, you have 1 year to file a claim. It's just like if you're in a car accident, you have a year to file a claim. If your house is damaged by a hurricane, the insurance company's not paying, you have a limited amount of time to file a claim. That's usually about a year. There are special circumstances. In this case, in Louisiana, he could have up to 2 years if Will were committed or were convicted of a crime.
Okay. Wait. If he were convicted of a crime, but in order to be convicted of a crime, you have to be accused of a crime. So
sure.
How would that work?
Well, then we go back to the other prescriptive periods where the district attorney's got a certain amount of time they have to bring charges against somebody before they have to let them go. So you would have to bring charges and at least get them charged with a crime so that the other person would extend their tort prescriptive period to 2 years.
All right, we got to take a break here. We got a whole lot more to cover. We'll get into the meat of some of the real stuff going on in the legal world, not the least of which involving the U.S. Supreme Court and Justice Clarence Thomas. A lot of folks are saying he should recuse himself from anything involving January 6th, and probably with decent reason behind it. We're going to dig into that. Also, DeRay McKesson can be sued for his actions back in 2016 surrounding all the protests with Alton Sterling's death. We'll dig into that, and some shakeups in the polls, law school rankings as well. We're going to dive into a lot more as the rest of this legally served segment wears on. He's attorney Richard Sprinkle in for Franz Borghardt. We're going to check CBS News. We'll check our local news, traffic, and weather. Coming right back after this. right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge. Let me go see if Taylor knows to log in so you can get the.
Are the levels okay? Because I can't tell at all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Try WBRZ Traffic as the username and WBRZ News 2 as the password.
Best Will Smith meme yet. Ascension Parish Department of Memes. You got to follow them on Facebook.
Oh my
You've
goodness.
You've got to.
WBRZ News 2.
Yes.
Success.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. We should have, like, all usernames and passwords that we use should be collected and put on a sheet and posted on the wall. Yeah, it's.
It is or it should be?
It should be. So that you're being tasked with that. Start writing them down somewhere. When we get enough of them, we'll post them up there and add to it. Okay. Is the January 6th committee in front of the Supreme Court yet?
No.
So what are... I understand the concerns about Justice Thomas, but are we exercising recusal in something that's not happening?
We're exercising recusal in something that's highly likely to happen. I mean, a lot of former President Trump's arguments have gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The tax documents, release for that matter, all of his executive privilege claims, everything has worked its way up to the Supreme Court. Candidly, I don't believe there's any court in the land that's going to be able to decide these things aside from the Supreme Court. So I think it's more or less of, all right, let's circle the wagons and see what's going to happen.
Okay.
You know. Mind you, he was the one lone dissenter when the Supreme Court said Trump can't block the White House logs and everything else. He was the one that came out and vocally dissented against it. Even though it's a conservative court, they voted 6-3 against former President Trump.
Yeah. So that would mean, according to Joe Biden, he ain't black.
But now it would take, let's be fair, it would take Biden at least 2 minutes to get that sentence out.
Whoa. Man. Look, I try not to talk about national stuff very often because it's just so depressing.
I know. Can we all not just agree that in many ways both of them suck? I mean, can we all not agree on that? God. When did we decide as a country it's okay to have elections filled with bad and worse choices? Bad and worse, bad and worse.
And that's the part that infuriates me.
Me too.
Is when you step into the polls and you say the guy I voted, whatever your perspective is, and I don't care, whatever your perspective is, when you step into the polls and you say I'm voting for the lesser of two evils, you've thereby admitted you're voting for evil.
Yeah.
It's less evil, but it's still evil.
You're exactly right. I mean,
and I believe the narrative was written because the legislation that was passed under Trump versus the reputation of what Donald Trump was were two different things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. From supporting HBCUs to criminal justice reform.
Right.
Like
there was some really good stuff that came about in that
lot.
presidency.
Now, he weaponized personality traits.
Yes, not cool.
No, totally.
Not cool.
What I don't understand, though, is the amount of racism that was involved in putting him where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Do they even know what got passed under his watch? Like,
and did they know? Do they know who he was before he ran?
Right.
I mean, how many photos are there with him whining and dining with Bill and Hillary? The guy was a registered Democrat.
Yeah.
Literally made the statement, if I ever run for president, I'm going to run as a Republican. They'll elect anybody.
He said it, yeah.
And
he said that on Oprah.
Lo and behold.
If you go on Oprah and you say, I can dupe Republicans into putting me up for presidency, and then you do it.
Yeah. Look, either he's the new P.T. Barnum or something. I don't know.
I might have used that exact reference.
Did you?
Before. Yeah.
Oh, great minds.
And I stole it from Ron Silver's character on West Wing.
I'm just picturing the Fiji mermaid right now for some reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Man, this is like when I lived in the Florida Keys, man. This is nuts.
Yeah.
Tie down the boats, boys.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Key Largo. Yeah. Do you? What part down there? Key West? Okay, cool. Very cool. Nice. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you about it the next break. What took us down there.
Legally served, rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt is out today. Richard Sprinkle is in. This is Brian Haldane. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. 638, Talk 107.3 FM. Yes, we are still getting you ready for the storms. We'll have more on that at the top of the next hour. Nothing's really expected until, well, the wind is going to kick up in town. Expect about a 20-mile-an-hour wind for the back half of the morning. So, more on that later on. We've got matters of the law to tend to. One of which is the question about whether or not Justice Clarence Thomas should recuse himself. January 6th hearings are going on. Lo and behold, Justice Thomas's wife's name has come up a good bit as having texted Mark Meadows, the chief of staff for President Trump at the time. Richard, I got to ask, is this... Okay, first of all, the likelihood that anything involving these text messages comes up in front of the Supreme Court, how handicap that one? How likely are we going to see that?
Oh, I'm going to give awful odds on that because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this would be like betting on Bama to win the football championship.
Okay,
it's very likely to happen. Most of the court arguments that have involved President Trump or involved his tax documents or involved him trying to block certain information being released from the White House due to executive privilege has worked its way up through the courts to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Because, candidly, who else is going to decide this stuff?
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a sitting president. So I would venture to say that anything having to do with these text messages is going to find its way before the Supreme Court at some point.
When anything from the January 6th committee comes up in front of the Supreme Court, are we looking at one lump sum of everything the committee finds? And I ask this for a reason, because should Clarence Thomas recuse himself from anything involving January 6th or just where his wife's text messages are going to come into play?
Well, I'll give the patented legal answer on that. That depends. It really depends on what the universe of stuff is that ultimately gets presented to the court. Typically, things go before the court are very specific. Is person X protected or enjoying protected speech, which we'll get to later, in a certain situation? They limit the questions that you're asking the Supreme Court, and that way they can just decide one finite issue, kick it back down to the lower courts to do the interpretations of the law the way you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. So when you ask, will he have to recuse himself from everything? It's really going to depend on what's presented to the court, and does his opinions or his wife's opinions, does that create some sort of conflict that's going to prevent him from being a neutral arbiter of deciding the law on whatever that matter is?
If there are aspects of what the January 6th committee comes out with that he does not recuse himself of, what happens if it's just viewed as tainted? Like, there's no recourse beyond the Supreme Court.
No, there is no recourse beyond the Supreme Court. However, somebody later on down the road could get it in front of the Supreme Court again. We've seen things either come before the Supreme Court twice and be overturned the second time around.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of questions whether Roe v. Wade is going to come back before the Supreme Court and what will happen this next time around. So, long story short, you can go back and try again.
Okay, but in that regard, it's got to go through as another case, right? There's got to be another lawsuit that makes its way back up the same process again.
Correct.
With all new information. There's not going to be, God willing, there's not going to be another January 6th committee to start this over again.
No, but there's something else could come out of the January 6th committee presenting new evidence that creates a new set of facts and circumstances that it may all stem from the original operative actions being the January 6th events, but it may be a new case.
I don't know how to find, and this is why it's in front of the Supreme Court, because there's no comp to point to. There's no,
right.
We've seen this before. This is how it played out last time. Like, there's none of that here.
There's no jurisprudence on it.
So, when it comes to recusals, what's the protocol, or what do we normally see when it comes to recusals? What's the likelihood that he would just say, hey, I'm bowing out on this one?
It is possible that he could recuse himself. I mean, there have been decisions in the past where certain judges took no part in, or certain Supreme Court justices took no part in those decisions. It could happen, and candidly, Justice Thomas may recuse himself just to. He does love the law. The man does love the law, so he may recuse himself just to ensure that the decision the court makes is upheld and not brought into question. It's possible.
He just sits back and says, keep my wife's name out your Supreme Court hearing.
Now, that's a segue, if ever I heard one.
Right? It's backwards segue, but it had to happen.
It had to happen. It had to happen.
Timeline on this, because as time wears on, at this point, when you look back on history, what happened on January 6th of 2020, depending on who you ask, was either just the Capitol was a tourist attraction or completely burned to the ground.
Right.
As time wears on, we are going to be more and more skewed in how we view this.
Sure.
So how long before this plays out?
I wish I could tell you. I don't know when the whole thing's going to ever resolve itself. It appears to me, not as an attorney, but just as a human being living in this country, that there are a lot of folks with a lot of different axes to grind in this thing. And as long as there are legal questions that can be identified, as long as there are claims that can be made, attorneys will be employed to fight this stuff out. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but maybe there are some questions here that do need to be settled.
All right. We're going to transition two more times. We got two more we definitely want to cover within this segment. He's attorney Richard Sprinkle, filling in for Franz Borghardt. I want to save the back end of this segment from 6:52 all the way up to 7 o'clock to talk about D. Ray McKesson, if we can.
Sure.
Because that is something that happened locally. That is something that is in our own backyard, and it's something we all remember quite vividly.
And it's changing the country.
Yes. Very, very much so.
Very much.
But we got about 2 minutes until break, so I got to ask you about these law school rankings.
Well, look, everybody loves seeding this time of year, right?
Yes.
Who's ranked where?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. We're down to the Final Four in men's college basketball, women's college basketball, too.
This is the time of year that undergrads all across the country who want to go to law school start clamoring for a copy of U.S. News and World Report. Okay. That paper releases their ranking of 197 law schools in the country every year from 1 to about 147. The last 50 or so don't get ranked. They're just in the bottom pile.
Okay.
So the number one group, the one everybody wants to get to, is called the T3, the top three schools. T3 has been Yale, Harvard, and Stanford forever. Forever. They might slide back and forth. Yale and Harvard go back and forth as to who's number one. But this year, Harvard is not in the top three.
What? Why?
Harvard got bumped by the University of Chicago, and who is now the number 3 school. So it's Yale, Stanford, University of Chicago. Harvard is tied with Columbia as the number 4 school.
So potentially they're even number 5.
Potentially they could be tied for number 5 as well.
Unreal. All right, as we go into break, we'll talk about what goes into those rankings on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, how does the U.S. News and World Report rank the schools? What are the criteria that go into that? Is there a net ranking? Do you go up against quad 1, quad 2 wins and losses, strong home wins, decent away losses? We'll break down all of that. Hey, before we get you into break, though, what you doing for lunch today? Before the nasty weather rolls through, maybe swing by Mooyah, maybe get yourself a burger, maybe a little comfort food to weather the storm, pun very much intended. I'm a double Diablo guy. I like them spicy. I got the jalapenos, the pepper jack cheese, and the Cholula sauce. You might like the barbecue bacon burger. You might like a classic double cheeseburger. No matter how you might like to build your own burger. No matter how you like it, they've got you covered with the freshest ingredients and the best service at both locations of Mooyah. Blue Bonnet at Highland Road or Seagan, just north of Industrialplex. Grab some Mooyah for lunch today. All right.
Fun show so far.
Thank you. I haven't even been in on YouTube. YouTube, how's everybody doing this morning? What do we got? Renee, Eric, Byron, Galen, good morning, everybody. Hey, Franz is in.
Hey, Franz.
What's happening, dude?
We haven't made fun of him at all today.
No, we haven't. Well, I guess I can point it out because he posted on his Facebook. Did you see he bought a velvet jacket?
No, but, Chris Rock had one. So...
And look what happened to him.
May not be the best role model these days. I don't know.
So, the brain isn't looking at the chat. No, I was not looking at the chat. I'm sorry. If they tell you they want to run what's the timetable? Chances of Democrats will have... Okay. That I don't know yet. No, Byron, it's not USA Today. It's U.S. News and World Report. So, USA Today is... It's best served laying on your table to pick up crawfish juice is the USA Today. And it picks it up in so many colors.
Is that paper still around?
The USA Today? Only if you stay at a Residence Inn.
Okay.
Seriously, that's the only place you can find a USA Today is when you stay at a hotel. Slide it under your door along with your bill.
Okay.
I didn't even order a movie.
Yeah, I hope I didn't say USA Today by accident. No, it's US
No, you said U.S. News and World Report. So, strength of schedule... what goes into it?
There's a random amount of things. They look at previous academic achievements of the enrolling class.
Okay.
What did they do? What was their GPA in undergrad? Everything else. They look at opinions of other lawyers. They look at faculty resources. They actually rank the libraries, the law libraries. What kind of services are available to law students by professional law librarians, which is actually a very specific job. Who knew?
Okay.
Who knew? I found out when I went to law school, but aside from that.
But all of it sounds so arbitrary.
It is.
Okay.
It is, but, it's not, you can't rank the law schools on, outside the lane shooting percentage or anything like that. No,
but they all go in front of judges. They all have a record in the courtroom.
Okay, one of the records that they do judge is first try bar pass rates.
That's one good one.
And that's a great thing to do. Now, unfortunately, Louisiana schools typically suffer in these rankings not because they're not good schools, not because they don't teach well. It's because the civilian law system that we have in Louisiana is vastly different than the other 49 states for reasons we do not have time to get into. But the other 49 states look at us as that weird dark place in The Lion King. Like, you don't go there. You never go there. Other lawyers won't come here to practice. If somebody hires a lawyer in another state to pursue a lawsuit in Louisiana, they will always come down here and get a Louisiana lawyer who's got experience and knows the judges, knows the courtroom, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it's always going to happen. Now, you always have to be barred in each state you're working in.
Okay.
But, other law firms that don't have somebody in Louisiana, they typically either won't touch a case or get on the phone quickly to find somebody down here locally to handle it.
See, if somehow into the rankings they could figure out how many billboards a lawyer has.
Oh yeah,
and that then Gordon, wherever Gordon McKernan went, would win.
He's going to be behind. What's his name? Alex Shunara, the guy who's all over the East Coast.
Oh, I don't know that. So I don't know outside of Louisiana.
Just drive from here to Atlanta, and somewhere in Mississippi, there's this DMZ.
Once you get past all the casino ads,
yeah.
Once you get,
somewhere,
hey, the Four Tops are still around.
Somewhere it goes from Gordon to Bart to this weird DMZ, and suddenly every billboard is either Alex Shunara or Morgan & Morgan, who is actually
Morgan & Morgan. I've seen
Morgan & Morgan for the people, the biggest firm in the country. They're huge.
Okay.
They're huge, biggest personal injury firm.
I'm just saying. I think Gordon would bolster our rankings a little bit. Morris Bart would too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now Gordon's got a few billboards.
A couple.
He's got a couple of billboards out there. Did you see the one he put up just for St. Patty's Day, right over Ivar's?
No.
Green billboard as you're going on the overpass, just there at Ivar's, with 2 images of Gordon. It says "Seeing double?" ? I was at Ivar's for the parade and looked up and saw it. Just like, come on, man. Come on.
Solid. All right, we're about to come back in.
All right.
One more segment to go on Legally Served as part of Mornings with Brian Haldane. We're each caught up on all the weather coming up at the top of the hour after we check in with CBS News. Richard Sprinkle is in for attorney Franz Borghardt, who I believe is in Arizona, I think. That sounds right.
I think so. Arizona or New Mexico.
Something like that.
He's out west.
He traveled west.
Yeah. He's on a walkabout.
Yes. He will be. Franz should be back next week. If not, Richard, the door is always open.
Hey.
Yeah. I wanted to reserve this for our last segment because there's going to be a lot of ground to cover, and a lot has actually happened as a result of this. Reading from the Advocate, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, on Monday criticized a finding by the Louisiana Supreme Court that protest organizers can be held liable for injuries caused by someone else, even if they didn't specifically direct the person toward violence. Justices said last Friday, under state law, people injured during a protest can sue the organizers for damages. The Supreme Court also said the right to sue extends to first responders hurt in the performance of their duties. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has asked the Supreme Court to weigh in as it considers whether to let a Baton Rouge police officer sue Black Lives Matter organizer D. Ray McKesson over injuries the policeman suffered during a protest over Alton Sterling's death in 2016 at the hands of Baton Rouge police officers. This, in reading it, and I know there's a lot more to the article, but in what I just read, from a layperson's perspective, sounds very common sense. Your First Amendment right to peaceably protest does not involve injuring or damaging property.
No. No right is absolute. We've heard that a million times.
Mm-hmm.
The First Amendment rights to free speech, they have limits. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, number one. You can't incite violence.
You
number
can't
two.
throw a brick over Airline Highway.
Well, now that's certainly not speech. That's a battery is what that is. That's bottom line. So here the ACLU is saying this is all protected speech. It's all protected speech. Louisiana, long story short, what happened was the federal court kicked this up to the Supreme Court through the Fifth Circuit. The Supreme Court said, now before we decide whether or not this is protected free speech, let's look at Louisiana law and see if this officer can raise these claims, because there's two questions at play. One, is it protected speech and not subject to tort lawsuits? And two, can a police officer even raise a claim? Because there's this first responders rule that says first responders, when doing their job, can't sue based on damages they receive on the job because there was an assumption of the risk.
Okay.
And that kind of
this is what you signed up for. Yes.
Yeah, this is what you signed up for. So that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But when you dig into it a little deeper, well, no, it doesn't make sense. There has to be limits on everything.
Okay.
So first we get to the freedom of speech. Yes, there was speech being made at the protest, but Louisiana has very specific tort laws. If you look in our civil code, starting with Louisiana Civil Code Article 2315, referred to by all my professors as the font of negligence and tort theory in Louisiana, it basically says any act of a man that does damage to another obligates him to make it right. And so that starts the negligence question right there. Was there any negligence that occurred? You move down the civil code, you find another one that says if you're in charge of people and they do stuff while under your charge, you're responsible for them as well.
So D. Ray McKesson can be sued not for what D. Ray McKesson does, but for some random slap who shows up to the protest that he organized.
If he's organizing it, if he's running the show, yes, absolutely. Absolutely that can happen.
Okay, now let's bring this back around to January 6th then, because wouldn't this, if D. Ray McKesson or anybody is on the hook for whatever a protester does, how would this not incite subversion? How would this not incite someone to go out there and throw a brick, throw a Molotov cocktail just to break Black Lives Matter up?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I've been analyzing this from the legal standpoints, and they haven't even thought of that. What if? That's a good one. The potential is out there. The potential is absolutely out there for somebody to come in, and there were accusations of things like that during the
during January 6th,
Charlestown or the Virginia.
The West Virginia.
Yeah.
You had
said there was
reputable
Antifa
people
dressing up as the other side,
right?
And I don't know if any of that was ever proven to be true or not, but sure, those possibilities are out there.
Well, but the problem there is now, unless you could prove who it was that actually committed the violence, unless you could prove it was who actually crossed that line beyond free speech to something worse like battery, unless you could prove that, you're still holding the organizer liable for something that someone who wasn't even under his leadership did.
Sure. And look, the law's not perfect. There's not a perfect, solid answer to everything. However, the organizers still organized the event. The organizers still was the spark in the causal chain that led to all of this stuff. And candidly, the law's got to find some answer somewhere. So they're just going to look to the leader, whoever got the ball rolling.
So then your First Amendment rights, while we understand are not absolute, if you want to exercise your First Amendment right, you better be darn sure that you're all in on this, because the repercussions for exercising it are very, very real now.
They are. I mean, if you're not the organizer, if you're just someone at the event, I mean, let's not throw pieces of concrete at people. Maybe that's fine, but and maybe use a little common sense in those areas. If you are the organizer of the event, you might have a duty to make sure that the people you are organizing are not harming others. You might have a duty to realize that walking out on the airline highway and saying take back the streets or what have you might lead to violent actions.
So what I'm in like, this was 8 years ago at this point. I mean, 7.5 years ago. But looking back on it, the main protests that went down were either airline at Goodwood, where police headquarters is, right outside the building, right over here. They had a march right around the corner, where they wanted to get up on I-110. They wanted to block the interstate, which was, thank God, shut down.
Yeah.
But you're talking about not just first responders, but anybody who drives those intersections.
Right.
It gets very hairy very fast. Right. We are straight up out of time. So, yeah, I know. The top of the hour news, and then we got to tend to the weather. Your weekly awful storm. He's attorney Richard Sprinkle, filling in for Franz Borghardt. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem.
Here comes CBS.
Damn it, I never got a chance to plug the new firm. Oh, well.
Oh, damn, I'm sorry. You got to tell me that on the front end.
I forgot all about it.
What is the new firm?
The new firm's Longman Jackieback. Anyway, for everybody on YouTube, you can find me now at Longman Jackieback. If you Google me at richardsprinkle.com, it's going to lead you to Longman Jackieback. But I'm still out there.
Spelled Jackieback.
J-A-K.
Oh, there it is. Never mind. It's on the other side of the card. Flip the card over, genius.
It's probably on the front, but it's small print.
All right.
Well, man, that was fun. Went by fast.
Yeah, it did. It did. We had a lot to talk about. And we didn't make fun of Franz nearly enough. Do what?
There's never enough time.
Hey, would you include this when you post it on demand? Include the law firm and a link back to their website.
LongmanJackieBack.org.
LJLaw.org.
LJLaw.org, yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm.
Flinging cards around.
Flinging them around. You think I just saw a car wreck or something?
I never even asked what type of law you specialize in.
Man, that's a crazy question. So I do personal injury, I do family, I do civil litigation, I even get into criminal law. I've literally got everything going right now, from murder cases to custody cases.
Okay.
So
Richard Sprinkle, attorney Richard Sprinkle from the Longman Jackieback law firm. And then where it says Longman Jackieback, just make that the link.
Is that on Facebook, or where are you guys posting that?
On talk1073.com.
Oh, okay,
We'll
cool.
post the audio on demand.
Cool.
So
I didn't know if we were still
I'll
doing
send you the
Facebook
I'll send you
Live
the
or-
link later. Well, no, it's not Facebook Live. It's YouTube.
Okay.
Which, by the way, if you're not subscribed yet, go subscribe.
Okay, cool. Will do.
I'll send you the link to the audio on demand so you can share on your
sweet
social later on today.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
We've got to have something to entertain us during this 40 minutes of rain.
Sneak across the street and get a bag of sadness.
A bag of sadness
at McDonald's.
Oh,
sadness in a bag.
Dude, I think I'm done. Well.
you ever up in Atlanta, check out Truett's Little House or something. Truett Kathy, the guy that started the place, actually has some restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually get it.
Good place to be, though. Down there with him. It's awesome. It was nice meeting you, sir. Meeting you guys. Take care, man. You as well. Not you when you're hungry.
.706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. That was fun. Great appreciation to attorney Richard Sprinkle, part of the Longman Jack-You-Back law firm. It'll be on demand a little bit later on if you want to check it out. It'll be on our it's on our YouTube. Once the live show is over with, the whole thing gets posted. You could check it out there as well. During the break, we went through some other things that didn't make the air, but worthy conversation was had throughout, and I appreciate Richard for hopping on board. We've got a busy hour this hour as well. Next segment, we're going to be talking with Cree Matlock from the YMCA and Bret Pinson from Rebuild Together. Some stuff going on in North Baton Rouge, courtesy of the folks over at Exxon Mobil. I love taking some time, every so often, taking some time to talk about Exxon simply because, as a neighborhood partner, they've invested back into Baton Rouge and North Baton Rouge specifically, and it's noteworthy to say the least. So we're gonna talk about what's going on, not just overall, but today specifically, as it is a Wellness Wednesday on Howell Boulevard at the Exxon Mobil YMCA. I'm sorry, the YMCA Exxon Mobil branch. That's coming your way in our next segment. Congressman Garret Graves at 7:35. Right now, though, you heard the forecast from Marissa Nuzzo. We'll dive into that in a little more depth when we hit our top story, hint, hint, in Top Stories and Trending. Getting to that in exactly 60 seconds. Got to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. They've got 2 locations. 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City. That's the one where I got my mattress. That's where I got my Sealy Beauty Rest Black Label mattress. The perfect comfort level for me, and for my wife as well. That was the one that met both of our needs when it comes to our sleep. Now, your sleep might be a little bit differently. You might like a little more give in your mattress. You might not like it that firm. You might like the pillow top. You might, as the temperatures get into the 80s and beyond as the summer gets here, you might want some cooling gel. All-important cooling gel, especially in Louisiana. No matter how you like your mattress, they've got the one that's right for you. Get the Goldilocks treatment. One's too hard, one's too soft, this one's just right. Yeah, that's what they've got at 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2 in the southeastern portion of the parish. Mitch Kimball and his team always have great deals, always have great mattresses, always have great service, have great financing as well. And, oh, by the way, drop my name. You'll get free delivery and a free pillow. And I don't mean like a walk into Walmart and get a $5 pillow. I'm talking like a $40 value on that pillow. 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2 for the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Top Stories and Trending. Let's roll. State Representative Joseph Ogeron, who calls himself a product of the oil and gas industry, isn't trying to take away the state's cash cow, which is oil and gas. However, he says there are opportunities with wind turbines to reduce emissions in the drilling process. The headline of the story reads, "Lawmaker wants to explore the feasibility of a Gulf wind farm." Quote, "They could power existing offshore deepwater oil and gas structures. A lot of deepwater producers have an interest in lowering their carbon footprint. Ogeron has floated legislation to do this. His bill would only prompt the Public Service Commission to look into the feasibility, not to act on it, to look into the feasibility of putting a wind farm into effect. If passed, we could have a wind farm in the Gulf by 2035. I don't know why I crumpled that one up and threw it away. I want to call Representative Ogeron about that at some point. It's an interesting take. A man was arrested after two 12-year-old girls told officers he had been sexually abusing them since childhood. According to the Baton Rouge Police Department, 43-year-old Juan Rivera was arrested Monday and booked on charges of first-degree rape. Arrest documents said one of the girls told her mother that Rivera had sexually assaulted her and touched her without consent, starting when she was 6 years old. The second victim told officers Rivera touched her inappropriately, raped her, and tried to have her perform other things on him. She told officers the abuse started when she was 4 years old. City Parish offices closing at 11 o'clock this morning ahead of the severe weather that's expected this afternoon. The City of Baton Rouge Head Start program will be closed all day as well. EBR schools are going virtual. Diocesan schools shutting down for half a day. LSU shutting down at 12:30 today as well. At least one person was hurt in a shooting near the corner of Dutton Avenue and Denham Street on Tuesday night, according to police. BRPD said the victim suffered non-life-threatening injuries, is expected to be okay. They did not have any further information on this incident, or at least the further information was not made immediately available. All right, the reason behind the closures is the severe weather that's expected later on today. Here's how it looks, the breakdown hour by hour, if you will. Look for in our next hour, 8 o'clock hour, wind's going to start picking up a good bit, up to 20-mile-an-hour winds coming through Baton Rouge. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, the wind's already above 10 miles an hour sustained winds. It's going to stay in the 20s, low 20s till about 11 o'clock, mid-20s from 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock. 2 p.m., it looks like when the rain starts to roll through. 50-50 shot at rain at 2. Kicks up to an 80% chance of rain at 3. 100% chance of rain at 4. This is supposed to be a nasty thunderstorm with winds in the sustained winds above 30 miles an hour, possibly up to tropical storm force winds, which would put it in the 40-mile-an-hour range. We are, and the whole storm's going to pass through over about two to 2.5 hour period. Like, it's going to be over with the quickness. It's very similar to what we prepared for last week. Ended up sparing us last week because we got lucky, but down the road in the New Orleans area, Araby to be specific, they weren't so lucky. Texas, they weren't so lucky. There are possibilities of either straight winds causing damage or the possibility of tornadic activity is on the table as well. There are a number of different alerts that will be implemented throughout the hour. Right now, just a high wind warning that is in effect. As severe thunderstorm warnings or other watches, alerts, and warnings come through, we will have them for you right here on Talk 107.3 FM. We are talking behind the scenes to find out if we need to do any extended coverage, any emergency coverage this afternoon. The way this one's playing out, I'm not 100% sure. But it's a good time for me to remind you, go ahead and subscribe on our YouTube. You want to know when we're doing emergency coverage, when we're doing any kind of bonus coverage? Subscribe to Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. That way, when we do the coverage, it'll be on YouTube. You'll get the alert. Hey, we got severe coming your way, and it's enough for us to be talking about it on air. Subscribe. Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Those are your top stories. Here's a look what's trending this morning. DOTD is working on their latest inspection of the old Mississippi River Bridge, which will partially shut down the bridge in both directions. I believe this is next week, Monday through Wednesday. The closures will last from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. It's part of advancements the department hopes to continue with funding from a recent infrastructure bill that grants them an additional $200 million annually through federal funding. Much of the bridge infrastructure, this is, after all, the old bridge. This is the old bridge, which the new bridge is old. So the old bridge is super old. Be on the lookout for it. Lane closures on the old bridge. Those are your top stories in trending. Quick break. When we come back, let's talk about what ExxonMobil's up to next. All right. Good deal. Keep asking Exxon for one guess. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, Debbie says similar to the January 6th committee. I'm so far out of date on where this was posted. Debbie, if you're still watching, refresh me on what you're asking about. Clinton says it's a lesson we teach our kids. You are responsible for people you are entertaining. Same goes for bosses. Yeah, although if you weren't one of the ones invited, like you don't have a sign-up sheet when you arrive on scene for a protest. May Mardi Gras crews have a duty to research who rides the floats? So they do. They actually do. Having been a member of a crew, I can tell you the crew that I was in, they did. 717 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So every so often, we like to get caught up on what Exxon's got going on in the neighborhood. I mean, they are a staple in Baton Rouge, and as such, are taking responsibility in that regard. And today, actually, Wellness Wednesday is going on today. In collaboration with the Southern University Ag Center, there's a Wellness Wednesday going on at the ExxonMobil branch of the YMCA. Joining us to talk about that and a few other things Exxon's got going on, we've got Cree Matlock from the ExxonMobil YMCA and Bret Pinson from Rebuilding Together. Good morning, both of y'all. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you, Brian and Bret?
Terrific, thanks.
Glad to have y'all on this morning. Glad to be talking about this because these are some of the things that, amidst all the daily headlines, tend to get overlooked from time to time. Can we start with Wellness Wednesday and then work backwards, if that's all right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Wellness Wednesday, what is it? Who's eligible, and how do you participate?
Absolutely. Wellness Wednesday happens at the YMCA, the ExxonMobil YMCA in North Baton Rouge. It basically started off with this idea, the idea for the Y to be a gathering place to help bridge gaps in health by connecting more people to things that they need to be healthy. The full community is open to the public, is available to attend. And basically we recognize that many individuals in our community are dealing with health issues like obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. So we really wanted to have this collaborative effort for community partners to come out and help remove these barriers to staying healthy, to help improve the quality of life in North Baton Rouge.
Bret, how does something like Wellness Wednesday help improve the quality of life in North Baton Rouge? Okay, I'm asking this question, but at the same time need to back it up to the beginning of the pandemic, because the concept of community kind of had to be tabled about one quarter of the way through 2020, and we're getting back towards that now. So what effects does this have community-wide with an effort like this?
Well, Brian, there's just a lot of organizations like the Y, like Rebuilding Together, that, partner together and collaborate to help those in need. At Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, what we do, and we're the only organization doing it, is focusing on rebuilding homes and making homes safer so the disenfranchised, the impoverished can stay in their home longer and stay there safely. So there's just a lot of work going on, particularly in the North Baton Rouge area. And, ExxonMobil has been a terrific community partner, not just for us and the Y, but many other organizations. So we're just thrilled to partner with them.
I do want to circle back around to a little bit more specifically about what y'all do, Bret, what y'all do over at Rebuilding Together, because there's a lot of important work that's going on there. But let's, if we can continue with Wellness Wednesday and the impacts there. Cree, who's eligible to come out? Who does this apply to? And I see on the flyer that vaccinations are listed as we come out of a news break where the CDC has now approved another booster. Who can come out, and where it says vaccinations, would that include for COVID?
Yes, vaccinations are definitely included for COVID. Again, the Wellness Wednesday is open to the public, so everyone in Baton Rouge can certainly come out and enjoy, join in some of this Wellness Wednesday good information. We have many partners that is beneficial for the full public.
Who are a few of those partners?
Those partners include Bret we have the mobile farmers market. Mm-hmm. We also have the American Heart Association providing healthy cooking demos with Chef Tracy Vincent. We have health screening partners such as Auctioner, Our Lady of the Lake. The Women's Hospital, in collaboration with Mary Burke Perkins, is offering cancer screening. So that's just to name a few of them.
Farmers market's a good place to start here, because we often hear about the quote-unquote food desert in North Baton Rouge and the dearth of grocery stores in North Baton Rouge, or healthy grocery stores, as opposed to like corner convenience stores and the like. When you bring a farmers market out, how much response do you see? Do people just flock to it because this isn't readily available?
Absolutely. There are times where we have had the farmers market come out to our branch, and they were wiped clean, sold out within 30 minutes. The public hear about the opportunity in the community, and they definitely flock to it. So it's a great, great opportunity for that fresh produce to be available in a community that honestly, truly is a food desert.
Yes, it has been an ongoing topic for some time, and we've seen it addressed on a number of occasions. I don't know if we're there where we want to be yet as a city, but any opportunity to get fresh produce in the hands of anybody. Look, health problems are a South Louisiana problem across the board. We could all use a little help and guidance along the way. Along with getting the fresh produce, though, you got to know what to do with it. What goes into the cooking demonstration? Do we get a sneak peek of what's going to be throwing down on in the kitchen?
Absolutely. We have a great opportunity with the American Heart Association with Chef Tracy Vincent, and she does her demonstrations once a month at the Y, where they definitely is a learning lesson. Not only do they demonstrate, they share best practices and tips that the individuals can go home with and actually utilize.
I'm hoping these are everyday things and not full on deep 4-star restaurant recipes, because I can tell you, as somebody who tries to cook for 3 kids from time to time, the easier the better.
Yes, and oftentimes we often use a lot of our produce out of the Y's garden. Mm-hmm. We collect fresh fruits and vegetables out of the garden, and Chef Tracy utilized that in her cooking demonstration.
I've heard of farm to table. This would be Y to table. That's a nice concept. Hey, health screenings. This is a big deal as well, because if I understand right, Mary Bird Perkins is out there. Cancer screenings are going to be available. Early detection is always the key. Are there particular types of cancer screenings we're looking at here, or is this a little more across the board?
Yes, so there's 2 types of cancer screenings that's going to be happening today. It is the breast cancer for women and also colorectal cancer for men. And to access these cancer screenings, it's important for you to call and make an appointment at the phone number of 225-425-8034.
Give that number one more time, please.
The number is 225-425-8034.
Excellent. All right, Bret, I want to move the focus back over to rebuilding together Baton Rouge a little bit because did some reading up on the website and a fantastic mission. What got y'all started?
A group of volunteers, I think it was 2003, 2004, from Honeywell, started repairing homes on the weekends. It evolved from 1 or 2 homes to 5 or 6, and today we're well over 100 and still growing. So it's been just a terrific effort. Chris Andrews, the former executive director, and his team. It's a small team, but with family foundations, community foundations, individual donors, and corporate sponsors, the organization's been able to make a huge impact on the community and frankly, change lives. So it's quite a blessing.
The name Rebuilding Together, so you can walk away with like maybe everything was knocked over from a storm because that happens so often here in Louisiana. But honestly, this goes a lot more one-on-one than that. You're not rebuilding to rebuild, say, after Hurricane Laura or Ida. This is just aged-out homes and the like, things that need the upgrades, correct?
Absolutely. I think in just East Baton Rouge Parish, and we go beyond the parish to the surrounding parishes as well, but there's an estimated over 100,000 of our citizens living in poverty. And, in our case, we're focused exclusively on the impoverished, but they fall in 3 categories: the elderly, the disabled, and veterans. So the need is frankly beyond our capacity, but there's just a lot of need in the community. And as I said before, we've got a small staff and work in large part with and through volunteers, Exxon being a long-term partner of ours. And as you know, with the saying, it's better to give than receive. And we're just really blessed, and every person on our team and the volunteers are just really excited to do this work. So it's a blessing on all accounts.
Where do y'all need the most help, and where do y'all have the most impact? Because you talk about a lot of homes in North Baton Rouge; they're just old, and that can mean anything from the physical structure is aging to electrical work in the '60s is not electrical work in 2022.
Well, it's everything. One of the trends, particularly with the elderly, is, they become wheelchair bound and the hallways aren't big enough or they can't get out of their homes. So every week we're building ramps to help them get out of the home. And I think another thing that we do that's just, it seems small, but on the surface, in the big picture, it's not. And that is we partner with Red Cross here, and they provide fire extinguishers. So not only are we repairing the home and making it able for them to stay in place in their home, but also making the home safer with fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide monitors.
All very, very important. The partnership with Exxon, how has that blossomed and grown?
Well, I'm smiling now just because it's real encouraging to us to have people like ExxonMobil want to partner with us. They've been doing it for a long time, providing not only funding but volunteers. One of the groups we have is called the Silver Hammers, which is made up of some Exxon retirees, and they work every Monday and Wednesday in their retirement, not wanting to just sit at home, and they get out and build ramps and do repairs for us. And a lot of the work is done by volunteers, including ExxonMobil employees and retirees. So it's just a terrific partnership.
Silverhammer sounds like a comic book character. I'm just saying. I'm not neither here nor there, but nonetheless, it is fantastic work, and it is very much needed. And there's a lot of what gets overlooked with North Baton Rouge is just when it was built, and there's no avoiding that. Got less than a minute to go before we get you out of here. So, Cree, I got to wrap up with you. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm sure you're encouraging folks to get out early before the storm.
Absolutely. Don't let the storm hold you back. Come enjoy the fun.
It is going on at the YMCA Exxon Mobil branch on Howell Boulevard from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and as Wellness Wednesdays. Cree from the Exxon Mobil YMCA, Bret Pinson from Rebuilding Together. Thank you all so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Appreciate both of y'all. We got CBS News coming your way in just a minute. Don't want to get too far into the show or any segment of the show without resetting what we're looking at for the rest of the day. Most places have an early dismissal or early closure in place already today. City Parish office is going to shut down at 11. LSU shutting it down at 12:30. EBR schools are going virtual. A number of schools were clocking out after half a day. Check with your school directly to find out exactly how things are playing out as the day wears on. We are now looking at, the next couple hours, going to be a lot of wind. Just starting about a half an hour from right now if it hasn't already started. I'll check the Doppler window as we hit CBS News. All right, let me hop back in. I apologize. I was distracted during that. Winds at 19 now. All right, let me call Kevin real quick. Hey, just like last time, man, this is looking like I don't want to go too early. We basically filled an hour for nothing last time. I mean, it was drive time to be sure, but nothing's going to be going on during drive time this time around, so I'm leaning towards 3 o'clock. Yeah. Yeah, I saw your text. The wind's at 19 already? Yeah, so it's looking like it's going to hold around there for the next couple of hours. What I don't know is the violent stuff on the front end of the squall, or is this front end? Okay, so it's not going to be within it. So, okay, well then I think we go from 3 to 4. We hand off to Jay to Cody. I'll do a segment with Jay, and then that'll be that. Okay, all right, good deal, man. Yeah, we just can't know who. And I got to tell you, one of the overriding themes that we're going to have today, when we hop on air, is this is 2 weeks in a row. If we're looking at a pattern of this throughout the spring, people are going to start referring to the boy who cried wolf when it comes time for hurricane season. Yeah, we were just lucky enough that it wasn't us, and yeah. No, totally nailed it from start to finish. Um, mhm. Okay, good deal. Say that again. Yeah, yeah. I'll start promoting it. I'll start letting folks know. All right, do you want me to bring you a snack? I can't get over there today, but you've got one coming to you. I promise. Excellent, excellent. I'll see you up here, brother. Appreciate it. Okay, I'll be off property from about 11:15 till probably 2. So yeah, I got a number of meetings today. So all right, thanks. Okay. Debbie says on YouTube, committee to blame Trump for January 6th. Debbie, please be careful with that phrasing, because you do have to allow for the possibility that Trump is guilty. You have to allow for that possibility. I'm of the opinion now that the January 6th committee can show us text messages from Donald Trump that would say storm the damn Capitol and wreck Nancy Pelosi's office. And a number of Trump supporters would just say it's fake. It's not real. Like, the phrasing you're using there, I encourage you to allow for the possibility that he was behind it. Now, that being said, I don't think he's dumb enough if he was behind it. I don't think he's dumb enough to leave a trail like that. So I don't think it ever comes to fruition. But it does need to be on the table. Byron says, we all know the difference between an approaching hurricane and occasional storm fronts. Yeah, you say that, Byron, and I'm with you. Most of us do. But if every single week we do emergency, you know what? For 2 years, we've been under a state of emergency because of the pandemic. And where's the attitude about COVID right now? Like, the number of people in Louisiana alone who have died either with COVID or because of COVID or alongside COVID or whatever, our attitude about it is not in step with the reality of it. And if we do emergency coverage and it doesn't play out, then the next time around, the word emergency gets diluted. Reference to the court case if the organizers I think you mean of the organizers. I make that same typo as well. I don't know why the O and the I are right next to each other, and I fat thumb it all the time. And I'm not saying your thumbs are fat. I'm saying mine are. Fatigue on weather and fatigue on nothing that sticks to the evil order. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Complete collision. Okay. 738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Waiting on Congressman Garret Graves. While we wait, and I'm hoping to connect with him today. I know he's got a lot going on. But while we wait, want to let you know, 3 o'clock this afternoon, Kevin Ford and I are going to take to the airwaves for a little storm coverage. As this storm is playing out, it's looking like there may be a need for us to go a little bit more long form. As there is a nasty squall line that's supposed to rip through that. Wind speeds are already at 19 miles an hour. So we're going to be in excess of 20 miles an hour starting at like anywhere from now through the next hour, and going to be mid-20s up to 30 miles per hour, which doesn't sound like a whole lot because we're used to interpreting things in terms of hurricanes, right? We're used to interpreting things in terms of 70-mile-an-hour winds. Well, yeah, for a hurricane, this is just a nasty storm moving through, and it's the second week in a row where we're seeing one. And I want to ask this question, and I'm getting some feedback on YouTube because we were talking about it on YouTube during the break, and if you're not on YouTube, there's a whole other show to be had as well. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Subscribe while you're there. Can we get emergency fatigued out anymore? And I say this knowing full well that I'm going to do emergency coverage later on today. And a week and a day ago, I did emergency coverage for a storm that rolled through and did not hit us. Well, it hit us, but didn't devastate us the way it did further down in New Orleans. Now, we're in the same mode today where we've got to be on the ready, even if something doesn't hit your house directly. Can you get emergencied out? We're on the back end of 2 years of emergency pandemic, a state of emergency for the pandemic. From Ida to Laura to Delta to Zeta, it seems like there's a constant emergency. To the January 6th committee, it's always breaking news. Is there fatigue there? All right, joining us now on the hotline. Breaking news! Congressman Garret Graves is with us. Congressman, how are you?
Hey, Brian, doing all right. How about you?
Doing well, doing
You
well.
We're ready for this storm?
Yes, we're going to be going live at 3:00. Me and Kevin Ford are going to be holding it down as it just like we did last week, and that's kind of the question I'm asking the audience. I'll pose it to you as well. Do we ever just get burnt out on the terminology?
Look, one of the things that I think we have in Louisiana is we have resilience. You have things like this happen in some states and people would absolutely freak out. You have storms that drop a half inch of rain and people just completely freak out. Whereas we'll have storms, as you well know, where we'll get inches of rain or back in 2016, dozens of inches of rain. And I think that our normal's a little different at home than most places around the country, and that's why you see the national news often being a little dramatic about some of the things that we experience on a more regular basis. And again, I think our people are more resilient. But lastly, Brian, we've got to continue making some of these investments in the right kind of infrastructure to where we're not stuck pumping water out of our homes or mucking and gutting every time you have an afternoon rainfall.
No, absolutely. And when we're constantly under a state of breaking news, constantly under a state of emergency, and we live a lifestyle where we're used to it. Yeah. I can hear the hesitation in your voice because you can't let your guard down ever.
Nope.
And that's where we are, and that's where we're going to be at about 2:00 this afternoon when the rain starts to come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Look, you have like Hurricane Katrina, where a number of folks chose to not evacuate, and you see the implications, and so sometimes you have to over respond, and that is hard for people, and I get it, but you have to err on the side of caution.
Well, so I'm glad you brought up because it's such a perfect example. The number of people that said, I rode out Betsy, I'll ride this one out. Like that, we have that historical context that kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of creates a South Louisiana hubris.
Yeah.
We got business to tend to. You got a lot going on. From the last time we talked till now, we've seen advancements with liquefied natural gas. What's the latest?
So you've seen a pretty substantial shift in the White House position in terms of them coming out and acknowledging that energy is a huge commodity, that it's not something that we need to go relying upon other countries for whenever we have it in the United States. My awful analogy the other day, it'd be like if you were growing tomatoes and cucumbers in your backyard to support your family, but rather than picking and eating those, you choose to go buy them from a farmer down the street that is using the proceeds, the profits from selling their fruits and vegetables to go commit arson all over your state. And and that's kind of the analogy. Look, we have these resources. We have the energy resources in the United States. We produce them safer, we produce them cleaner than just about anywhere else around the world, and certainly a lot better than Russia. So it makes sense for this shift within the White House. Candidly, they never should have been in this situation to begin with. But what they did, one, they've approved 2 of the 6 permits that are out there on liquefied natural gas terminal, which gives us better certainty in the market. It allows us to export more. It helps with production because the producers know that there's going to be a larger market for the energy. So it's the right move for the United States because we're displacing Russian energy, Iranian energy, Saudi energy, Venezuelan energy with our energy, putting Louisianians to work and giving us better economic opportunity. Now the major thing that we need to see out of the White House, though, is not just approving those 2 permits. It's their 4 other permits for liquefied natural gas terminals that actually expand capacity, and it's about actually having the right type of environment where you can produce these projects, you can invest in these projects without being worried about whiplash or some administration changing their tune on energy.
Got Congressman Garret Graves for D.C. Current. We do this every Wednesday. Get caught up with our representation in Washington, D.C. Congressman Graves, I need to step off the beaten path for just a minute because I saw a press release from your office yesterday evening, about Coast Guard legislation that passed the U.S. House. Can you dive into this and talk a little bit about everything that it covers? Because this is I was intrigued as I read it.
It's a pretty big deal. And look, everybody thinks about the military. They think about the Army, Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, but the Coast Guard is actually a branch of the military. They can operate under Homeland Security or the Department of Defense. They have Coast Guard men and women deployed all over the globe today. And you think about it, you have all these laws that are enforced on the lands of the United States, and you may have 10 different federal law enforcement agencies that are enforcing them. To a large degree, all of those laws are enforced by just one entity out on the high seas, and that's the United States Coast Guard. And so these folks, we refer to them as kind of the Swiss Army knife. But they get deployed with our military, but in many cases they're not getting paid at the amount or the level that they deserve. So the bill, it does increase pay and support for the Coast Guard. Something that's really important is that it requires these AIS, these automatic identification system beacons, to be put on vessels that are in U.S. waters of certain length, because that way we know from a security perspective who's there, we know who's fishing illegally, we know who's not. Some really important requirements associated with that. And it adds 6 new, what we refer to as the fast response cutters, which are the Sentinel-class vessels. And these are really the workhorse of the Coast Guard's fleet. These things have better duration, they have better armament, they have better ability to operate in high seas, and they're being built in Lafourche Parish. And these vessels, you can ask any Coast Guard coastie who's been out there on them. These are great performing vessels. It puts thousands of people to work in Louisiana. There's a larger vessel being built in Mississippi called the National Security Cutter. It authorizes the 12th one of those. I mean, so look, this bill does a lot of things to improve the capabilities for alien interdiction, for drug interdiction, to make sure that we can do our search and rescue mission, just everything that the Coast Guard needs to do the job of, like I said, 10 plus law enforcement agencies out there on the high seas.
It's one of those ones where you read the headline and it doesn't tell anywhere near what the story is. Coast Guard legislation passes U.S. House. But when you get down to it, this is protecting Louisiana fishermen and, like you just said, with the cutters, creating jobs. I was baffled to pull back the curtain on this one and see what was there.
Well, and we have the largest Coast Guard district in the world, operating out of New Orleans, even with some of the activities that they're doing, Coast Guard's doing out in the Middle East and doing out off the Yemen coast and everything. We have a much larger presence in Louisiana than anywhere else in the United States, and so it's good for the state of Louisiana, good for our economy, its jobs, and it's the fact that we're protecting our men and women in the military operating all over the United States and the world.
Got about another minute and a half with Congressman Garret Graves. Before we get you out of here, Congressman, what's on tap for today?
Well, so today, the longest-serving Republican member of the House, Don Young from Alaska, has been in Congress, Brian, for nearly 50 years. And the guy just bled Alaska, was absolutely just a wealth of knowledge, and there's a funeral for him this morning. So going to that, and then we have a big group in from Dunham School in Baton Rouge we're meeting with. We're meeting with some of the folks in the advertising industry about how we can do a better job helping to promote advertising opportunities in Louisiana. As you know, we have big Lamar, a huge national advertising company operating right out of Baton Rouge. We're going to be working on some Navy contracts and trying to help some of the Louisiana businesses get access to some of the contracts and work there. So got a number of things going on this afternoon. We have a classified briefing on Ukraine, just trying to get an update on what's going on there and some of the activities related to Ukraine. So number of things going on. Going to be working on some energy legislation, but pretty good day today. Meet with some of the ports this afternoon. All the ports from Louisiana are in town. The American Port Association has a big conference going on right now, and so all the ports are in town. So I'm meeting with some of those folks. So got a pretty busy day, and then doing dinner with some of the folks on our team doing strategy sessions for the summer.
He is Congressman Garret Graves. I could have come up to talk advertising. I mean, it pays my bills. So
these aren't your competitors, Brian.
No, all good. We love it. He is Congressman Garret Graves. We always appreciate the time, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
You do the same. We're late for Your Money Now. I don't know. I'm dealing with like 18 things that are outside the show, so that's I got my side hustle's got a lot going on right now. I've never watched this morning. The W. Deboarding a client. Had it. I've had enough. You ever fired a client? It's kind of shit. I don't care for it. I don't want to do this. I'm sorry. It's not. Yeah, right here. There it is. Good. That'll work. Christian said, sorry, can't walk and type. No worries, Debbie. It's all good. Fatigue on weather and fatigue on nothing that sticks to the evil orange man. Yeah, white grandpa gaffs us into a war. Wild grandpa, excuse me. White grandpa. Well, that also applies. Yeah, and the complete difference there. You know, we have that Killmead promo that we run way too often. But he labels the compliant media. Compliant media is a good term. Huh? No, I did Baton Rouge Mattress. 7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Thanks to Congressman Garret Grace for hopping on board for DC Current. We do that. We try to do that every single Wednesday, although we're getting to the time of year where, and this is going to affect Congressman Carter as well, where the business of our nation gets to be a little bit more important, a lot more important, than yapping to me. So I don't have cancellations or reschedulings in front of me right now, but this is about that time of year where things really kick up in Washington, D.C., and we appreciate the congressman's time every time he can hop on board, because that's not overlooked on this end. We know it's not the easiest to keep this level of regimented schedule when you are faced with the frenetic pace of the U.S. Congress. Getting to the outside in just a minute. Got to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. More storms rolling through this afternoon. And, well, when it's raining and windy and all that other good stuff, accidents do tend to happen. If you find yourself in an accident, you'll want to check out Complete Collision Center. CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. The phone number is 768-9898. 768-9898. Doug and his team do it a little different over at Complete Collision Center. Your family safety is their top priority, which is why they make sure they are certified by most major car manufacturers, and they have the all-important iCar Gold Class certification. What does the iCar Gold Class certification mean? Not enough time to tell you right now, so I'll send you to CompleteCollision.com. All right, time for the outside in. Let's roll. Everywhere. The following state offices are closed today: Acadia, Allen, Avoyelles, Beauregard, Bienville, Bossier, Caddo, Calcasieu, Caldwell, Cameron, Catahoula, Claiborne, Concordia, DeSoto, East Carroll, Evangeline, Franklin, Grant, Iberia, Jackson, Jeff Davis, LaSalle, Lafayette, Lincoln, Madison, Morehouse, Natchitoches, Ouachita, Rapides, Red River, Richland, Sabine, St. Landry, St. Martin, St. Mary, Tensas, Union, Vermilion, Vernon, Webster, West Carroll, and Wynn. Everybody else gets out at noon. That would include all of the state offices within our listening area. All right. That's your weather report, or your weather closure update from the outside in's perspective. Got two more stories I want to cover, and they're both a little bit fun. No, they're not. One of them's fun. One of them's actually dead serious. Over to Vermilion Parish at just 2 years old, Ammo is the Kaplan Police Department's first full-time canine. Kaplan Police Chief Joshua Hardy says Ammo will work the streets of Kaplan to help fight crime and rid the streets of drugs. He started in the office 4 years ago. When he started in the office 4 years ago, Chief Hardy said having a full-time canine was part of his plan. Now Ammo is that full-time canine. Ammo is a German Shepherd, and get this, only speaks German. The German Shepherd speaks German. Closing out Livingston Parish, Denham Springs isn't jerking around when it comes to massage parlors. Recent prostitution arrests have caused the city council to say they need to get a stiffer grip on restrictions. Crank out more penalties for offenders caught with their pants down. The new ordinance, approved Monday by the Denham Springs Council, levies several restrictions on those businesses, including keeping a detailed record on their clientele. Here's CBS News. I had 8 more puns in there. Just for the YouTube audience, because I'm an absolute child, let me reread this in its entirety the way it was written, and you tell me if I missed any puns. You ready? Closing out Livingston Parish, Denham Springs isn't jerking around when it comes to massage parlors. Recent prostitution arrests have caused the city council to say they need to get stiffer with restrictions. Tighten their grip. Hey, Rick, how's it going? Tighten their grip and crank out more penalties for offenders caught with their pants down. The new ordinance, approved Monday by the Denham Springs City Council, levies several restrictions on those businesses, namely prohibiting operation between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Parlors must also post a clear list of services from which they cannot deviate and keep a detailed written record of each appointment. Breaking those rules is punished by a fine of up to 60 days in prison per the ordinance, which is more than a good spanking. Sorry. Before I bring a state legislator in here, let me close the book on that story. Come on in, man. We got Jake's got this day in history, and then we'll get Okay, so my level of cynicism has gone through the roof. Did you hear Clay Schecksteiner on Monday? He like on
I
the
think
show.
I might have read some things.
Basically, like it seems like a lot of lawmakers are just laying out their list of excuses to say no at this point.
Yeah.
So I want to break down what's legitimate and what's just. And I'm not going to bring this up while you're on, but at some point someone's going to have to ask a question. Are we saying no to $500 million because the governor is of a different party than the legislature?
I'm not saying it that direct, but I just cut a commercial yesterday with Roy Fletcher that we're going to start running. I mean, it's important, and it basically, let's see what exactly we said.
Where's that commercial running?
We'll start on social media, and then I don't know. We might try and raise a few dollars to put it on real TV too.
Oh, it's a TV commercial.
It could be. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
We haven't delved into the issue-based advertising on the station a whole lot, but last year we teamed up with Advantis and Jason DeQueer and did a whole thing about centralized sales tax and a few other tax issues that we're going through, and it went over like gangbusters.
Yeah. If there's an avenue to do that,
absolutely.
Yeah. We talk about that,
especially when it's something I'm sitting here so much in favor of.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is why I get frustrated. There's enough money for everybody's project to get on a path, but whenever you get in there and it becomes a ego thing of, well, the Baton Rouge delegation got 500 and our area only got 100. Well, yeah, but it was based on what was needed to make the projects move at a faster pace. It wasn't
about the area; it's about the project.
Yeah. My biggest need in a rural part of my parish might be $1 million, might be $500,000.
Right.
I'm not going to roadblock somebody that's getting $10 million because that's their need, but that's kind of where we've gotten. Who can kind of poke out their chest and say they brought the most home, as opposed to where it needs to go.
Right. And that's a bigger part of the problem, is that it's left up to that kind of fiefdom territoriality. And this is why we can't have nice things.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, historically, that's why we miss big opportunities, because, if you have $144 million, what we'd historically do is give everybody $1 million, as opposed to say, what significant can we do? Monday at the Road and Bridge Authority, I just briefly spoke, and kind of my thoughts to the parish presidents are, just like legislators, you always prioritize your district, but then at some point we really should step back and look at the state as a whole, or the region that we come from.
Is there a way to do that to where money that is directed towards infrastructure can go to a more independent committee? And that would be a major structural change from a legislative standpoint, and nobody's going to give up that kind of power and dollars.
No, exactly. Well,
but
so like the bill we passed last year, the infrastructure bill, we created the priorities that were in that bill based on information provided to us from DOTD in terms of where they saw the biggest priorities.
Right.
And I guess one thing, this is hard. I don't say this too much because I don't want it to hurt us more than help us in terms of getting the bridge done. But the truth of it is, what we passed last year will pay for the bridge. This expedites things.
So Zizarang saying squirreling money away, and I will call him out by name when we talk about that.
Yeah.
It's not squirreling money away. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Let's pick back up a second. 806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, Hour 3 of mornings with Brian Haldane, coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake producing. We got a busy hour for you this morning. First of all, reset on the weather. We will be picking up coverage at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Myself and Kevin Ford are going to take to the airwaves to kind of get you through what is expected to be a nasty storm. That being said, I know full well it was expected to be a nasty storm last week. It was a nasty storm last week, just not for us. There's no way to predict where a tornado will land. There's no way to predict where gusts can get up to hurricane strength. We just know we have to be at the ready. And it's looking like sometime after 2 o'clock is when this is going to ramp up. So what we're going to do, we're going to pick up on it at 3 o'clock, keep an eye on power outages, see what's going on the roads, get you home safely if you aren't home already, and then hand off to J.D. Cody, where I'll probably pop in a couple times as well. That's later on today, and we are expecting nasty storms. In fact, winds are already above 20 miles per hour sustained through Baton Rouge, and that is only going to escalate from here. It'll be in the mid-20s for the next few hours before it starts to ramp up as that squall line moves through. Coming up this hour, Rick Ward is going to join us in our next segment. We were talking about the bridge, and I got to tell you, like I'm hot about it. And I'm not even apologetically hot about it. It's just where we are right now versus where we need to be are two entirely different places, and we're hearing the same excuses from not the same players, but the same roster of players. We'll get into it in our next segment. Also, Beth Torina is going to be in the house at 8:40 this morning. Go Teal Walk is coming up this weekend. Love getting caught up with Coach Torina. It's a fantastic cause, a fantastic event. And, oh, by the way, we've got some softball to talk about as well. And we're going to close out the hour by talking with WBRC's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. What can we expect and when? Nobody's going to get more specific than Dr. Josh to close things out. Right now, though, we start off the third hour with Jake and This Day in History.
Yes, sir! It is time for This Day in History. We're kicking things off in 240 BC. It was the first recorded... give me one chance here. Perihelion passage of Halley's Comet.
Okay.
That's a big word. Never read that word before.
Okay.
1858, pencil attached with eraser. It was patented by Hyman L. Lipman of Philadelphia.
2022, eraser detaches from pencil and it disappears from my desk. I don't know why.
I think it flew somewhere in the forward.
No,
area.
the pencil itself is gone. I think somebody else just got fed up and threw it away.
0 for 2 there.
Yeah.
1867, the Alaska Purchase. U.S. buys Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million in today's market.
And we didn't keep the receipt, which is why it's still ours.
Yeah. As of 2018, that would be worth about $109 million, roughly 2 cents an acre. 1870, the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is adopted. Guarantees right to vote regardless of race. 1981, U.S. President Ronald Reagan is shot and wounded in an assassination attempt by John
Hinckley.
John
Hinckley Jr., technically. Let's not impugn the senior Hinckley.
Of course, we can't...
Honey, I forgot to duck. One of the best lines ever.
Oof. 1987, Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers sells for a record 22.5 million pounds, which is 39.7 million U.S. dollars.
Okay.
Yeah. And in 2001...
Not even that good of a painting. It's flowers. Who cares?
Van Gogh.
Yeah, I understand that.
Come on, man.
I hear you. In both ears.
Moving swiftly along. 2001, at 15 years and 9 months, American swimmer Michael Phelps breaks the 200-meter butterfly world record at the U.S. World Championship Trials at Austin, Texas.
But he couldn't beat a shark in Shark Week. Loser.
He becomes the youngest male to set a world mark. Come on, man, it's a shark.
It's a shark, but he's got all these gold medals. Can we not outfit a shark?
Fam, we are not outfitted with the fins.
Jaws. He, him. That was too much. I'm sorry.
I'm done with you, man. Do you have any events? Because I'm just going to move swiftly along.
No, I had Ronald Reagan.
Okay, cool. Let's get to
birthdays. I got a gang of birthdays.
Oh, quite a few. First up, Celine Dion turns 54.
She's first.
She was the first person on the list. I go in order. Come on, man. Vincent van Gogh was born on this day in 1853.
So Van Gogh's painting sold on his birthday.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Sergio Ramos turns 36, Madridista. MC Hammer.
You switched languages there for a minute. I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah?
Okay.
MC Hammer turns 60.
Oh, man.
Happy birthday.
You want to revisit my childhood in a hurry?
Yeah.
Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him was the banger. There is no, like, that whole cassette, both sides. That's why we pray. Oh, so good.
Robbie,
You Can't Touch This was the big one.
Well, of
you
course.
probably know You Can't Touch This.
Probably. Yes, of course I do. I was born in the 90s. Robbie Coltrane turns 72. You may know him as playing Hagrid in the Harry Potter films. I didn't actually know this. He was in GoldenEye as well.
Okay.
Pierce Morgan turns 57. Eric Clapton turns 77. And Richard Sherman is 34.
Yep.
What am I missing?
A Saint and a Tiger.
Oh, no.
Former Notre Dame and current New Orleans Saints backup quarterback who's quickly moving down the depth charts thanks to Andy Dalton, Ian Book.
Ooh.
His birthday is today.
Happy
and
birthday to Book.
Astros third baseman, Alex Bregman.
Very nice. Happy birthday to all those mentioned. I didn't have any deaths to report.
Me neither.
All right. Well, then let's get to the holidays. First up, Take a Walk in the Park Day.
Not today. If you're doing it, do it before noon. It's going to be a windy
can't
walk.
do that today. Maybe you just have an early morning walk. It's National Pencil Day. Damn it. Wrote that in pen.
That's that. Yeah, because the pencils are gone.
Exactly.
Like,
I couldn't be festive today. I mean, what is this? Is this
I like
amateur
a
hour?
pencil. I like a pencil.
What is this? And finally, it is Little Red Wagon Day.
It's also National Doctors Day.
Is it really?
And they're important.
Yes, they are important. But that is this day in history.
Dr. Seuss, Dr. Dre, all these doctors. Super important. Quick break when we come back. Let's talk about a bridge next. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No problem. Well, one of the main excuses that they all continue to use is the uncertainty. Well, when we did the bill with the BP funds 3 years ago, we put money towards I-49 South. They didn't have, they still had right-of-way issues. I believe we put money to I-40, but whether we did then or not, in this particular session, we're talking about putting money towards that. They're still having right-of-way disputes. But most important,
Hey, Coach. How's it going? Doing all right.
Most importantly, on the LA1 in the Fouchon, we put $150 million of the BP funds to that project. The only way that was ever happening is if we got, not just if we got an infra grant, but if we got one in the amount that we hoped to get. I mean, that was, we took a leap of faith collectively as a legislature that, I mean, we were completely dependent on an unknown factor and whether or not it was going to happen. It worked out. I mean, we put money towards things not knowing exact.
This is about raising Highway 1, right?
Yeah.
Getting it to where it doesn't flood.
That's right. Yeah. And to make that work, $150 million from the BP funds, state dollars. We ended up with $130 or so million in the infra grant that we didn't know we were going to get until after, and like $50 million of private industry.
Okay, you're actually going to make me argue against myself, though, because neither of those projects is anywhere yet.
No, they did a groundbreaking, I believe, on the LA1.
Okay.
Not that long ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Well, because one of the things Clay Schechter brought up was co-meet diversion. We're not going to dedicate dollars to just sit there for 40 years.
That's why you put a trigger on it.
That's where we're going.
And
then that's where we're going.
Smart trigger is 5 years because that gives you the time to use the money to draw down federal funds.
Well, so I'll start off with Zizarang's comments, because there is a difference between when you invest in a Roth IRA, you're not squirreling away your money. When you have a 401k at your workplace, you're not squirreling away your money. When you put your money under your mattress, you're squirreling away your money. And when you put your money into infrastructure projects in parishes that have 3 paved roads, you're pissing away your money.
Right. Well.
Nope, don't be statesmanly. Don't do it. Be bitter with me.
No. I plan to. I'm getting more. But every indication shows that this is moving forward. we've got to.
So we'll start with these comments, and then we'll get into what went down at the meeting the other day. Eight 816 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. See, I stop and have fun for a segment with This Day in History. I get back into the conversation, and the blood pressure goes up again. No worries. Time to talk about it. Where are we at with the bridge? State Senator Rick Ward is our guest. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. And I say every time I'm glad to be talking about it, and I actually am, because there's still something to be talked about. Yeah. And until this is dead in the water and has no bridge to pull up from, we're going to continue to talk about it as well. There was a meeting on Monday, and by the way, Jay Campbell, 7:15 tomorrow. For those that don't know, he's been appointed by the governor to head up the whole bridge commission, task force, whatever you want to call it. There was a meeting yesterday, and not yesterday, Monday. We'll get into what went down in that meeting. We'll get into the goings-on inside the state legislature in just a minute. But I've got to start with some comments from Jerome Z. Zarang from Houma. Representative Zarang said he doesn't think it's the best use of state dollars to squirrel away $500 million. Now, I'm not going to get you in trouble here, but I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Putting money to work is not squirreling away money. When you invest in a 401k at your work, you're not squirreling away your money. When you buy into a Roth IRA, you're not squirreling away your money. You're putting your money to work to generate passive income. When you set $500 million aside for a new Mississippi River Bridge, you are triggering things that can allow you to access more federal dollars, not to mention the capabilities for bonding as well. You're putting the money to work. Stuffing money under your mattress is squirreling it away. This is not that. How badly, am I making too much out of this? How badly do comments like that and phrasing like that, how badly do they shape the argument and affect the potential of the bridge?
Well, I think it really, until people know that that's just not what the plan is.
Right.
I don't understand. I feel like some of the people making those comments know better. You know, the whole purpose of setting the $500 million aside is not to just sit there in hopes that one day we get started. We are getting closer every day to being able to start the bridge. But when you have the opportunity to take $500 million and over the course of the next couple of years until it's time to break ground, you have the potential to maybe draw another $300 or $400 million down with that 500. So you're talking about really leveraging that money for so many other dollars that are available. That's before you even start the conversation about what types of private investment it attracts. And so it shows the entire country, there's only a handful of groups that invest in these types of large projects, but it shows them how serious we are about doing this. It's not just a discussion. It's absolutely, they're moving forward, so we want to go engage and see how we can work with them on this.
You've been a leader on this from the start. You were obviously a huge cheerleader for it as well. This affects your backyard literally and figuratively. What are some of the opposition talking points you're running into within the legislative session?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the silliest one I've heard so far is, well, they don't have an exact location yet. That they are 84% done with the process that will land us on a location. So we're getting close to that. That is that's so far removed from the question of whether or not we should move forward with allocating dollars to this. It's really almost laughable. When you narrow it down to the final three, the next step is to pick the last location. That's going to happen. It's not a what if, it's going to happen. So you really have to start getting your financing together. You can't wait on that to happen and then say, well, hopefully we'll go figure out the money. You've got to do all these things simultaneously, so when that is completed, which is not that far away, then we can start moving forward.
Not that far away. Can we put an actual timeline and date on these things? Because I had Clay Scheck-Snyder on the show on Monday, and he referenced the Comey Diversion Canal and the amount of dollars that have been put aside and put aside and put aside, and we're 40 years into this project now. That's not going to happen with this bridge. But how do you put his mind at ease with actual deadlines? I mean, you look at it narrowing down. We're in the middle of March Madness, right? Final Four Saturday, championship game Monday, both on 104.5 ESPN. Final Four Saturday, championship game on Monday. We have a very definitive timeline. Thursday and Friday, you'll have the first rounds of the tournament. Second Saturday and Sunday, you get narrowed down to the Sweet 16. It's not like that when it comes to bridge selection, but can it be? Can we make it more definitive?
Yeah, well, so I believe by the middle to end of May, we will arrive at the final 3 locations. And then from there, I don't have an exact timeline, but I don't think it'll be much longer after that before we get down to the final one. So the original contract, and look, it's frustrating that these things take so long, but the contract that started the process of narrowing it down to the one was a 4-year contract. We're well into the 3rd year of that contract. And so even in worst case scenario, which would be that they took the entirety of the 4 years to complete this, you're looking at being somewhere around a year and a half away to arriving to one. I don't think it needs to take that long because, like I said, by the middle to end of May, we will be down to 3. So I don't know exactly from an engineering standpoint what goes into getting it from 3 to 1, but we're very close to that. So it's not like we're 10 years away. We're not even 5 years away. And I guess to step back to the money question, we can set this up in a way that what happened with the Comeet River diversion money never happens. You put the money aside, but you do it with a trigger. And a trigger that makes perfect sense is a 5-year trigger, because we're going to have 5 years to draw down from the federal infrastructure bill that was recently passed. Whether you like how they arrived to that conclusion or not doesn't matter. The dollars are available for us to go get. So over the next 5 years, you have the opportunity to take the $500 million, maybe turn it into $800 or $900 million. And if we haven't started within the 5-year window, then the money can go back and do something else. But that's how you keep from having those 40-year windows of money just sitting there.
Yeah, and in the Comeet Diversion Canal, while a good example, is also an example of how we could have learned from the past to change the way we write this moving forward.
Absolutely.
Anywho, the next objection that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard as well, is that 500 is too much. Maybe 2, maybe 3 instead. What's the rebuttal to that?
Look, I think that we all have to be really careful as legislators that we don't make it about us as legislators in terms of, wanting to be able to go home and claim that I brought the most home to our area or our region. I think we have to look at all of it across the entire state as need-based. And what does each project, we've got a handful of these mega projects around the state that just have to happen. And so which one requires certain dollar amounts to get going and to move forward at the most expedited pace we possibly can? And if you do that, I think it takes away, at least to me, it should take away the argument of one getting too much and the other one not getting enough. I know that can be hard for us to do because you always want to feel like you're representing your district as best you can, and that's your first priority. But these things are bigger. They're state. They all have statewide implications. When you look at the Baton Rouge Bridge or the Lake Charles Bridge, I-49 South, they all have statewide implications. And so it shouldn't be about who can put the feather in their cap of bringing home the most money. It should be about how can we make all of we have the money. For once, we have the money. How can we do the right thing, take the political side of it out as much as possible, and put it where it needs to go to move all of these things forward?
It's the nature of the beast, and there's no other way around it. And sadly, most state legislators are judged by how much they can bring home. I don't know that there's a way to force someone from North Louisiana to see the bigger picture for the impacts of South Louisiana, except to show them actual receipts. This $500 million didn't exist last year, and it's not going to exist next year. God willing, it's not going to exist next year, right? I mean, the whole reason we have it is tragedy. so we don't want it anymore. But to show that, like, this will be the impact on the receipts, this will be the impact on the business, this will be the impact that goes to the bottom line of the state, which will then go back up to your district in perpetuity, not a one-time grab it from the cookie jar. I don't know how to explain that any way other than to be that blunt about it.
Well, I think that's right, and I mean, I think the other thing is, if you go up to North Louisiana and you drive, in terms of their congestion and alternative routes and all those sorts of things, they're in a much better position than this region.
Mm-hmm.
I was up there recently, and there's I was kind of laughing to myself because they have a choice of in the Shreveport-Bossier area 4 or 5 bridges to cross. I don't know the exact number, but it's significant. And I don't know that they ever have a traffic jam there, and I'm sure they're thankful for that. But in terms of looking at the entire state, we should never get into a match of, well, I know I don't really need it as much as you, but for my own local politics, I need to take some of that away from you just so I can look better whenever I get home. If we continue to do that, we will continue to miss opportunity after opportunity and never do the big things that we need to do in this state.
What went down on Monday? How'd the meeting go?
It went good. I mean, so they did narrow things down to 10 locations. They announced that, which is somewhat non-eventful, but I do feel like it at least lets people know we're moving in the right direction. And they did say that by middle of May or so we would be down to 3. The holdback on that is throughout the month of April and maybe the first week in May, they're going to have a series of public hearings throughout the different parishes to go over all the different sites, and then from that they'll narrow it down to 3. So I think there was a lot of positive that came out. I think there was some insight on what the dollars are needed for in terms of the additional $500 million that we're trying to get allocated to it, and so a lot of positive. I think there's always going to be frustration because people have only heard the only thing that they've ever heard is that we're looking at it, we're studying it.
Right.
I think what's most important to understand about that is this is not us studying it to see if we need to do it. This is really the first step in the process, and it's a lengthy step, but it's because the federal government's involved.
Sure.
And so there's nothing we can do but carry this part of it out in order to comply to get what we need to move forward. So if you look at it from that perspective, we've made I feel like more progress than has ever been made on this project, and I think Monday was a pretty good indication of that.
Mid to May to end of May for narrowing it down to 3. 2-part question. You've got less than 90 seconds to answer it. Number 1, can we push back a decision on this $500 million until the dead end of the session to make sure you've got enough time to get down to 3? And part 2 of that same question is a narrowing down of 3 enough to get yay votes when folks are clamoring for 1?
I think so. I mean, I think 3 is a significant move from where a lot of this narrative started whenever we were still at 17. And that should give us a lot of ammunition to go back and show everybody that this is moving forward in good faith. It's not a pipe dream. It's got a few steps left, but yes, I think that will give us what we need to go collect the votes to get a significant amount of money. Will it be exactly $500 million? I don't know, but I think as long as we end up with a significant amount of funds to put towards this, it'll give us the opportunity we need.
I mean, a bridge is going to cost more than $500 million. A bridge over the Mississippi River is going to cost more than $500 million, and $500 million is not squirreling away. It's an investment. That's where we started the conversation, and unfortunately that's where we're going to have to end it for today.
That's right.
It's going to be ongoing. And, yeah, he is Rick Ward. We always appreciate that. We didn't get to anything else you've got on the table, but I appreciate the time. We'll have you back on real soon.
Thank you, Brian.
Here comes CBS News on Talk 107.3. Look, I'm your Bill Lane Beer here, man. I'm your hatchet man. I talked to Scott McKnight. I talked to Paul Davis. I talked to Schechtner. Hey, give me one more minute. I'm sorry. Y'all are too nice. There's no repercussions. I need like.
Well,
and
I'm not as nice in the little commercial I'm about to do. I mean, I'm not mean about it, but basically, like this is it kind of alludes to the fact that this is all a political thing. Had it not been the governor that came out and said we wanted the $500 million, then we wouldn't be having a lot of
that's where I'm going to go with it next. And after that, it's going to be purely punitive. Just you shut this down, I'm going to shut down everything that comes to your district. Not a dollar goes back to your.
Absolutely. I mean, look, and I've got to have this conversation with Clay at some point, but he's from the Baton. He's from this region.
From Ascension Parish, where one of the landing sites is possibly going to be.
When you're the speaker
Mm-hmm.
of the House, how can you go through that for 4 years, have this opportunity,
right,
and not fight for it? I mean, part of your legacy as speaker would then be that we had an opportunity to get a chunk of money for the bridge, and you couldn't come through.
Yep. That's. Anyway.
And on top of all that, we've got the chair of finance.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge area.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a.
Look, but because I don't want to diminish what we can get. If we can stay north of $300 million, we'll be just fine.
No. Yeah. I mean, you don't pull that. You don't share that card yet. But yeah. I'm with you.
We can land between 3 and 350. We're good.
Good deal.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you.
Couple weeks. Let's get you back in and talk
Yep.
about the rest of the
Sounds
agenda.
good. Have a good one. See you.
Yes, please. Come on in. We're in our news break right now. I think they put you down for like right at 8:30. We don't technically come back in until 8:40.
I just wanted to make sure you knew I was.
Yeah, of course. Love the shirt.
Thanks. This is Keontae.
Hi, Keontae. Nice to meet you.
Coming to meet everybody.
Excellent. The Arkansas's good. That's.
We did get one though.
Oh no, I saw. That's Sunday. That's Sunday.
We were like 2 innings away from winning the whole series.
I know. I follow. You'll.
I follow you too.
No, I've been especially dialed in the last 2 years with your Mount Carmel girls. My cousin coached them in high school, so yeah. They didn't forward me any talking points or anything, so we'll start with Goteal, and then if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about softball and a little bit about women's sports in general.
Sure.
It's actually going to kind of cross over to basketball, but the women's Final Four. So I have 2 daughters. All it matters, South Carolina's in, and so is UConn, which means Paige Beckers. And Paige Beckers she is like UConn's Olivia Dunn. She's just unbelievably popular right now. So, I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old that play basketball.
Oh, nice.
They also both run cross country.
What grade's the 9-year-old, sorry?
4th. Yeah. And just I'm like forever enthused by the level of excitement that's in this Final Four. It's fun. So, but I want to talk about the growth of women's sports in South Louisiana.
Perfect. Love that.
Excellent.
Let's do it. Yeah, if you just lead me into the Goteal, I'll handle that.
Yep.
Can we hit ovarian cancer symptoms? That's my only that I want symptoms for women to know about their bodies. I'll get you there. Don't worry. I've done this a couple times.
Yeah. You all gonna play tonight?
I don't think we are, but we're gonna cancel after this. I don't know. Lefty.
Yes.
Maybe we could play at like 7:30. We thought.
You might actually. It's not gonna last that long. Problem is, when do they get here?
Exactly.
Like
That's the issue.
they're like literally gonna be driving down. Yeah, I mean, but it's McNeese tonight, right? Yeah, so they're going to be on I-10 in the middle of this?
Yeah, I know. We have an alternate date, so.
Is Kentucky good?
They all are.
Is anybody not good? Like it's okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
One more 4-pack for you that I'm going to pick a winner, but I'll
Okay. Well, the old people in Mercy's Parish say thank you. We get the Michelangelo exhibit at the River Center, and this seniors group from my church is going. So
That's awesome.
I was like, can we get them all in the door?
Am I going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not plugged in.
Oh, you're not plugged in. Am I out of libraries?
Yeah, you're out.
Okay, I thought so. .837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thanks again to Rick Ward for stopping in to talk about the bridge that is not yet, but hopefully will be. Shifting gears entirely now to something that has actually quickly become a staple on LSU's campus, and that's the Go Teal Walk coming up, I believe, this weekend. Joining me now, LSU softball coach Beth Torina. Beth, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, and I love that you're calling it a staple.
It is.
Done good.
It's grown quickly. It's super popular and for an unbelievably good cause. So I'm just gonna toss you a softball, and let you set the table. Go Teal. What are we looking at?
You know, softballs are hard, right?
No, I'm well aware. I'm well aware.
Yeah, Go Teal is something that's super close to my heart. Of course, we started this foundation. Man, it's been almost a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's an ovarian cancer survivor, and she'll be at the walk this weekend. So we'll be representing her and just so many women in our community that have fought this disease. So Saturday morning, we'll be walking right there at Tiger Park. Opening ceremonies at 9:30, and then we'll walk at 10, and we'll be supporting all these awesome women that have just fought so hard and battled right here in our community.
Where do you walk?
Well, we walk, you get a nice view, Tiger Park and Alex Box Stadium, so we walk right around there. You can sign up to walk at goteal.com, GEAUX, and if you forget, just walk up. We'll still take you. We'll still surround you with some love, but we'd love to have you come out and support this awesome cause.
The walk is in the morning. The game is not until the evening, so there would be some nice separation in between as well. When it comes to Go Teal, and you said your mother is a survivor of ovarian cancer, ovarian cancer does not get as much attention as a number of other types of cancers out there. So let's do a little tutorial, if you will, when it comes to ovarian cancer. What should folks be on the lookout for? Because like any other cancer, early detection is the key. So.
Well, they call this one the silent killer because there's really no way to detect it early. That's what's so tough about it. And it is the 5th leading killer of women. I mean, it is a tough, tough battle that so many women fight, and they fight it quietly and privately. And, you know, I think we've got to get the word out because if it's not you, and if for the guys listening, it's for your wife and your mom and your sister, just know the symptoms. I think the only way to detect this is just being your own advocate. And it's things that are super simple, things that women have anyway, cramping and back pain and bloating, feeling full, these things that we have anyway, unfortunately, but when they persist over time, when they persist for multiple weeks, that's the time when you need to be your own advocate. Go to your doctor, get a scan, because there really is no test for ovarian cancer, and that's why it is so deadly. Women find it at such a late stage that it's really tough for them to battle. So it's about knowing your body and being an advocate with your doctors and your medical professionals.
Since it is, the symptoms do mirror things that women have to deal with on a regular basis anyway, what's the cutoff point to say enough is enough? It's time for me to go get screened.
I think when things seem out of the ordinary, when they last for, you know, a duration of time that's not normal, when you start feeling, you know, something has been around, when I've had this back pain that's unexplainable for multiple weeks, or, you know, I've had this indigestion or this intestinal cramping and it's not just something I ate last night, you know, it becomes something longer and persists longer. I think that's when you need to really get checked out. And, you know, like I said, it's not just for the women, it's for everybody to know, you know, when their sisters, friends, loved ones aren't feeling well, like you've got to encourage them to get checked out too.
Other cancers, other forms of cancer have little benchmarks, age-based benchmarks where you need to go get a mammogram or a colonoscopy or whatever. Is there any standard like that for ovarian cancer?
I wish there was. And, Go Teal has donated some to research, too, to try to help this along. But, we'll all be wearing teal. The entire SEC is going to wear teal on Saturday night, which is really cool for the SEC softball coaches to come together for something. It's something, right? But we'll all be wearing teal to represent Alex Wilcox, who was a player at Mississippi State who lost her life to ovarian cancer. When she was very young, was diagnosed in her teens when she was in high school. So it's women of all ages are affected by this. A lot of people think it's just an older woman's disease, and it is absolutely not. Since I've been in this, you would be amazed at the number of young softball players that I have heard about that have had to deal with this. So it is all ages. It is, women of all types. So I think everybody needs to be aware.
It's women of all ages, women of all types. With other cancers, we do see some hereditary issues as well. Does that transfer over to ovarian cancer?
It does, and ovarian cancer can be linked to the BRCA gene. So if you have the breast cancer gene, it can be linked to that too. It is definitely increases your risk for ovarian cancer. So it definitely can be hereditary. And then just like all other cancers, it can have no rhyme or reason for why it chooses you to.
Research advancements, screening advancements, diagnosis advancements, and results advancements. What we've seen. So I worked with Susan G. Komen for a number of years with the Baton Rouge outlet of Susan G. Komen. We've seen where breast cancer is no longer a death sentence anymore for a lot of women if early detection. Are we seeing the same level of advancement with ovarian cancer as far as treatment is concerned and livability?
I would say no, unfortunately. Ouch. And, there are some predictors. There's a CA-125 marker that is a blood test that it can be elevated, and a lot of times it is elevated, but it's not always true. There's not something that holds true. So I think they're working. I think they're trying, but I don't know that we have the answers for this yet. And that's probably a question for some awesome medical professional that, will be at the walk on Saturday supporting us. But, I think it is still something that is just detected so late and so tough. I mean, I know when my mom was diagnosed, it was stage 3C. I mean, the fact that she's still with us is incredible. She got very, very lucky and was very fortunate. But you're just seeing these women have to deal with things that are just so far gone that it's really tough for them to battle back. The other thing too I'll mention about ovarian cancer is it is reoccurring more often than not. So it happens to them, and then they think they go into remission, and 5 years later it's back. So that's the other thing that's so tough to deal with is the treatment works well the first round, but then the second time, like all cancer treatments, it's not quite as effective. So that's why they label this as more of a disease, than anything.
Why do we see hesitancy for screening? And I ask this knowing full well, when you're talking about ovarian cancer, you're talking about something that is, by definition, womanly. Is there the level of privacy there that keeps people from wanting to know the truth?
I think it just really masks symptoms that are normal. I think it's like you just don't realize it. It's so silent. It's things that we've always dealt with, and then all of a sudden it's boom in your face. So, I think that it's just something and sorry to the men out there. I'm not trying to, talk down, but us women, man, we're, dressing babies and we're out moving and shaking. I had so much to do today, and I'm cleaning up pool toys and braiding hair and doing all the, we're always moving and shaking. And sometimes I think maybe as women, we don't take enough time for ourselves to take care of ourselves. We're so busy taking care of everybody else in our lives.
1,000%. No, completely agree. Saturday is the walk. You can just walk on up. You don't need to go register anywhere ahead of time. But if anybody would like to register, you don't have to. But if you would like to, where do you go?
GoTeal.com, GEAUX Teal.com. You also, if you can't make it out, feel free to sign up to Walk From Home. We'll send you a shirt, and you can support it from wherever you're at. If you can't make it out Saturday morning or just want to make a donation to a great cause, we'd love to have you support that too.
Let's shift gears, and we started heavy. Let's lighten up a little bit, because with this SEC softball here. How's the team?
The team's good. We have, a huge bulk of the season behind us. We've seen them play some incredible games. I think we understand what type of team we need to be. We had Alabama come in here at 20-0, and we were able to take 2 from them and take that series. So, we understand what we need to be. Now it's just showing up and doing it consistently, and that's tough when you're running out there 6 sophomores and 2 freshmen and a bunch of young kids, but they're growing every time we take the field, so we like what we're seeing from them.
The AP Top 25, it only has room for other teams once you run out of Southeastern Conference teams, basically. When do y'all get like a puff game? When do you get like a nobody to play?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. And, I think we're still at the top of the strength of schedule right now. I think we have been for, I don't know how long have I been here, so
Basically.
But I think our kids enjoy that. I think that's why they're here. They came here to play the best, and we are definitely giving it to them on a daily basis. You know, everybody in the SEC, we've had all 13 teams make it in the postseason for, you know, several years, 12 or 13 the last 3 or 4 years. So it's a tough league, but it's fun. I mean, you got to show up with your A game every time you take the field.
Absolutely. Next game that's scheduled is actually tonight, though that's weather permitting at this point, against McNeese. And then you're welcoming in, I believe you said, Kentucky this weekend?
Yes, Kentucky this weekend, who is, you know, a top 15. They've been in the top 10 at times. Of course, they're going to bring a quality pitching staff and a lineup that will be tough to get out. And then they'll be with us for the weekend. Saturday night, we'll be playing them at 5 o'clock, dressed in teal. Like I mentioned, the whole SEC dressed in teal. So we're
so cool.
We're also going to be on ESPN. So what an awesome platform to do that as well. So, you know, we're excited about seeing Kentucky this weekend and everything that goes with it.
And while I've got you for another minute or so, I got to ask, I have 2 daughters. The rise of interest in girls' sports, in women's sports, in South Louisiana in particular, has just been astronomical lately. I want to ask you kind of a 2-part. Number one, how encouraging is that? And number 2, is there something in particular that's just lighting this fire, whether it be softball or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the growth of our sport on TV has been incredible for us. I mean, we don't play a game that's not televised anymore. You know,
Right.
Every game that we play is on some platform, whether it be the ESPN Plus or SEC Network. But I think the availability of just seeing women and seeing these fierce competitive women and making it cool. You know, it's cool to be strong. It's cool to be fit. It's cool to be all those things now. And they're getting to see that a lot more often. I know our viewership numbers are just incredible. I mean, to the point that we've beat baseball in some spots. You know, our College World Series, I think, was more heavily viewed than some of their College World Series games. So I think people are falling in love with the sport, and I think we have a huge opportunity just to, you know, continue to elevate women.
Social media play into it?
Oh, I would say definitely. Definitely. I mean, especially at a place like LSU where we have an incredible creative team that's just making us look good all the time. I think it does for sure.
You got a few girls on TikTok that are just fun.
Sure, give them a follow. They'd love that.
Absolutely.
They'd love that.
Absolutely. So coming up this weekend for Go Teal, Coach, thank you so much, and good luck for the rest of the season. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Always. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're skipping your money now because this weather situation is too pressing. So we're going to knock out our local break. When we come back, WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, is going to join us to talk about what we can expect and roughly when. So that's next.
You're awesome. Thank you. That was incredible. Thank you so much.
No, it's always my pleasure. I'm trying to remember which one of your players on TikTok, and I can't remember right now.
Presley? Sierra? Sierra is pretty funny.
You know what? It might have been a player who graduated last year.
Maribeth? Maribeth has been really funny with her team.
Yes.
She was coaching.
Okay, yeah.
At Grand Canyon.
Okay, well, so she was, I remember seeing her from last year. So.
And Sierra's good. Briggs.
Sierra Briggs? I'll look her up.
She's funny.
So, yeah, so my daughter taught me to letting her getting on TikTok, so I'm making sure she's dialed
The
in
older
on
one?
all of them.
Because my 8-year-old has one. Because my 8-year-old has one.
So
You should look her up because she does it with all the players. It's hilarious.
Fun. No, my 9-year-old, they've got like different, like little silly dance apps that they can only connect with their class friends. So I don't know the name of the app.
I need you to teach me how to do that because mine are talking to probably random, weird.
It scares me to death on a daily basis. But yeah, my cousin Curtis coached Shelby Wickersham.
Yeah.
So
I love her. Good kid, great family.
Comes from good country.
There you go. There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, Wickersham's a long time LSU native.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Big time. Cool.
All good. But
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're down the hall next.
Yes, Michelle.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, appreciate you, Coach. That was fun. I needed that after
the bridge. I think that's your most heated topic.
this time around. Yes. Centralized sales tax is going to come back up again. And by the way, it's the same damn theme on centralized sales tax that it is on the bridge. Is that your backwoods ways are used to doing your backwoods things in your backwoods, whatever. Like, grow up. The reason we have a state legislature is that we are a state. You're going to piss away good money because not enough of it. You don't, nobody's duking you enough. Okay, my bad, y'all. I had talking points for other things on my phone, so I've been away from the YouTube chat for some time. Yes. I'll get to Bret's in just a minute. Galen says, with respect to the January 6th investigation, all I want is for the truth to come out prior to the next presidential cycle. But I think the Dems will drag it out and use the FUD to hurt the Republicans. Here's the thing, though, man. Is I think they're going to be, what's the term, hoisted by their own petard. The longer they drag, we talked about breaking news and emergency fatigue. January 6th fatigue plays into that. Russian hoax fatigue plays into that. Like, we just, eventually we hear it and hear it and hear it, and not only do we get numb to it, but we get defiant to it. Look, I don't mind saying, when it came to the 2016 primary, I don't mind saying, I'm proud to say it, I voted for Marco Rubio. I'm a Marco Rubio guy because he is, in my mind, the most Reagan conservative of all the candidates that time around. I was not a Trump fan. I do not like the way, I respect it, but I don't like the way he plays mean. He uses people. He weaponizes personality traits that aren't the best. Now, I'm able to see the forest through the trees and say that doesn't get in the way of the good legislation he passed or got through on his watch. We'll pick it back up later. 8:52 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here, and we're talking about the weather. WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, joins us for what I hope is not going to become a weekly hit. Josh, how are you?
Doing okay, Brian. Up and at it again. Yeah, you're right. 2 weeks in a row dealing with this, but I guess that's a hazard of the spring season here. As beautiful it is, 6 days a week, we always got that one where we got to be a little on edge. Okay, so I'm remembering back to last spring. We had a torrential storm in May, but I don't remember a back-to-back hit like this. Are we looking, and I might be too early to start seeing a pattern, but are we looking at something that's just worse than normal? I think it's just coincidental that these setups came in back-to-back weeks. The most unusual thing is really kind of in the minutia or the technical jargon of weather, the moderate risk, those severe weather outlooks. We've only been under 6 of them since 2008 or 9. Got to get my year right on that. But really in the last decade, we've only been under 6, and 2 of them here in the last 2 weeks. So that's a little bit unusual, but severe weather is possible with almost any front that comes through in the spring season simply due to our clash in a warm and humid air mass with a cooler and drier air mass.
This is going to be a weird kind of backward question, and we're going to get into the actual forecast in a minute, but I always love utilizing all the time I have with you. How much of this level of alert, level of awareness is just a result of science, just a result of being able to more accurately diagnose what's coming so that we can be ready for it?
I am so happy you brought that up because I'm working on an editorial piece right now for WBRZ.com because we received a higher than usual level of vitriol last week from people when their homes were not destroyed by tornadoes. I think it's pretty clear that the Baton Rouge area did not experience much. Of course, we had the EF3 down in the New Orleans area. And these outlooks that we paint on a map are just that. They're forecasting tools to highlight where the most favorable ingredients for severe weather are. They are not a guarantee of severe weather. Few things in weather are a guarantee. And you bring up what I'm using as an analogy right now is very similar to the preseason hurricane forecast. We can identify, which is pretty miraculous scientifically, about the number of storms that will form through the course of a season, but science can't yet identify where they're going to go until those storms actually form. It's really the same with severe weather. It's pretty miraculous that we're able to see now 6, 7, 8 days in advance a broad region where severe weather might happen, but it's useless to the communities that are not hit because then it seems like cry wolf. And for the communities that are hit by a tornado, they could care less if we saw it 7 days in advance. They've lost everything. So I wonder how effective of a communication tool they are, but the cat's kind of out of the bag now and it's not going back in. So That's a great question, and really that is what they are. They're just a forecasting tool.
One more for you before we move on to the forecast as well, and you mentioned crying wolf. From your perspective, you've got to go to DEFCON 1 when you see the warning signals, when all the ingredients are there. Does it stay in the back of your mind that hurricane season is a couple months away, and if we go to DEFCON 1 so many times before June 1, do you worry that people will get numb to it?
Yeah, every time there's a heightened weather risk, whether it's winter weather, severe weather, tropical, weather, I worry about how strong my language and my wording is, because people will only tolerate so much. And I had a rough time with, I have pretty thick skin. I can take a lot, but the last week I've probably received 4 or 5 really nasty notes on email and social media. And my morning meteorologist, Marissa Nuzzo, to borrow this from her, she put it a great way. She said, if you go into an emergency room and say that you have chest pain, they're running every single possible test to rule out a heart attack. And that's the job, is to make sure a person stays safe. So us too, when we see all those alarm bells saying, hey, tornadoes could happen, we have to kind of put all that aside and not worry about what people think, and do our best to get that message out there. And we hope that we're wrong, and we hope that nothing happens, but we would be ignorant and not doing our job if we didn't at least broadcast the potential.
All right, then let's let you do your job and let you broadcast the potential. In our remaining 2.5 minutes, what can we expect from today? It's looking like this is pushing back by a couple of hours already.
Yeah, mid to late afternoon. Unlike last week, where we talked about kind of being on eggshells all morning because we could see some storms develop ahead of the line. That's where the tornado spin-ups would be likely. This should be confined to a pretty tight window. You're going to see some breaks of sun today. It's going to be dry for most of the time, and we'll have like a 3 or 4 hour period of nasty weather between about, let's say, 2 and 6 p.m. from west to east across the metro area. So really, that's where we'll notice storms. But something that we've been talking about, while only a few spots may experience a gusty thunderstorm or unfortunately a brief tornado, everybody's going to experience the wind today. I already actually have some stray garbage and whatnot that's blown around on my property, and that's going to be something that affects everybody today. And again, borrowing from Marissa, she made a great point on TuneIn this morning, is that with winds out of the south gusting to 40 to 50 miles per hour, are largely east to west, I-10 and I-12, can be really hazardous for driving, especially for SUVs and especially those 18-wheelers.
Wind gusts, sustained winds, what should we be expecting for the rest of the day? Because I'm seeing somewhere around 30. Yeah, and we should be in that 25 to 35 mile per hour range. And we're pretty much into the 20s now and have already had some gusts well into the 30s. So that will continue through the day, and that's near tropical storm force, probably enough to take down a few weak tree branches. And I would bet that, within our broad forecast area, there will be a few power outages just due to the winds that have nothing to do with the thunderstorms that come later. What we've seen in the past, and obviously not the level of steroids that these last week and this one have, but what we've seen in the past was it's never the first storm that knocks out the power. The first storm loosens it, the second one knocks it down. I'm guessing that's kind of in the forecast as well. Yeah, well, that's a great point. We have all day the winds kind of whipping things around, and then you just get that one extra thunderstorm gust in the squall line this evening, and maybe that's the cherry on top, for lack of a better term. So we'll see how that plays out. It's obviously impossible to predict which tree, which power line, and where those gusts will be until the storms are here. But it just, we forecast for 13 parishes in 3 counties, and I find it tough to believe that there won't at least be 1 or 2 issues in that broad area today, thanks to the wind. He is WBRZ's Chief Meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. We appreciate the time. I think we're going to go with some extended coverage at 3. Can we get you back on? I should be in a studio. If I'm not on the air, I'll join you. And if I am, meteorologist Jake Dalton will be backing me up and we'll probably be able to chat. Excellent. Appreciate you, Josh. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Here comes CBS News. Did we automatically get cut off? Well, no. Did CBS take over automatically at 9? Okay. Yeah. That's. Not now. Yeah, and then there's, what's the second button? Is return to? No, it's a breaking news. There's another. No.
There's a certain command. I've been told about this once, but that's after the fact.
This morning, Republican Senator Susan Collins announced she will vote to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, giving Democrats the one extra vote they may need to assure
It's okay.
I'll
have that for next time. Unfortunately, it's cut off. The only parts that were cut out were these different years.
Okay. All right.
All of the substance was there.
Okay. YouTube, I got to skedaddle. Wednesdays are busy, and then I got back-to-back meetings and then Rotary Club. So, and then, hey, 3 o'clock this afternoon, me and Kevin Ford, convenience store snack reviews and possibly some weather, right? We'll see you later.